12, and that for the first hour would be practice, but she's okay to do it whatever way is best.
That's perfect. You're the teacher. Please, Khenmo, you lead us. That's perfect. Thank you.
Tini kimola chi tsuwara tini chi gande kina gande yaksho yena tini nang chogare la. So tinda yena dangpo nyamlin chena tini jela kachu yena digi yorela.
Oh, las tena aso tampo tempa sonrwa.
La sola. So first then we'll begin with the recitation.
Laso tena aso tempa namju na jinji sona na desara.
So just as we usually do the practice, then we can begin.
Okay, so we will begin with daily practice then, Khenmo, correct?
Is there an umse or someone who usually, because she's muted, so.
Usually we share. So maybe, Khenmo, would you like to begin? Start us off, please.
Ji dambo umse, plus.
Sanje judan zoje chonam la chanjo pad dane jasum je dage jin so je be chonam je dola penjra san roba jo sanje judan zoje chonam la chanjo pad dane jasum je dage jin so je be chonam je dola penjra sanje roba jo sanje chudan choje chonam la chancho pad dane jasum je dage jin so je be sonam je dola penjra sanje roba jo Manam gadan nyambe simje damje dewa dan deve jodan den parajurje dunga dan dungaraje jodan trawarajurje dunga mebe dewa dan min trawajurje Chadan yedan jem danyon tseme bala ne parajurje semje tamje dewa dan deve jodan den parajurje dunga dan dungaraje jodan trawarajurje dunga mepe dewa dan min trawarajurje Nyere chadan yedan jem Tanyom tse me bala ne baraju je semje tamje dewa dan deve jodan den baraju je donga dan donga je jodan trawaraju je donga me pe dewa dan min rawaju je yere chadan yedan tre Tanyom tse me bala ne baraju je Taso tuje chena.
Unborn emptiness and the unceasing appearances of dependent arising are the way of illusory unity. Before me in the sky, amidst vast clouds of offerings, on a jeweled lion throne, lotus sun and moon disk seats, the incomparable teacher, lion of the Shakyas. His body, the color of gold, adorned with major and minor marks, clad in the three Dharma robes, he sits in Vajra posture, his right hand gracefully poised in the earth-touching mudra, and his left hand in the gesture of meditation, holding an alms bowl full of nectar. Like a mountain of gold, magnificent, he shines in splendor, spreading beams of wisdom light across the whole expanse of space. The 8 close suns, 16 elders, and the like, a vast ocean-like retinue of noble beings circles him all around. Simply think of him and he grants the glory of the highest bliss, liberation from samsara and nirvana, the 2 extremes. He is the great being, perfect embodiment of every source of refuge. With your great compassion, you embraced this turbulent and degenerative world and made 500 mighty aspirations. You are as exalted as the white lotus. Whoever hears your name shall never return to samsara. Most compassionate teacher, to you I pay homage. All my own and others' virtues, body, speech, and mind, together with all our possessions, visualized like Samantabhadra's offering clouds, I offer to you. All the harmful actions and transgressions I have committed throughout beginningless time, each and every one I now confess with intense and heartfelt regret. In all virtuous actions of the noble ones and ordinary beings accumulated throughout the past, present, and future, I rejoice. Turn the wheel of the profound and vast Dharma teachings ceaselessly and in every direction, I pray. Your wisdom body is like space and remains changeless throughout past, present, and future. Yet in the perception of those to be guided, you go through the display of birth and death. Even so, let your form body continue always to appear. Through all the virtues I have accumulated in the past, am accumulating now, and will accumulate in the future, for the sake of benefiting all beings. You remain forever pleased, and may all attain the state of the victorious one, the Lord of Dharma. Living beings like us adrift in this degenerate age have no guidance and protection. Because of your kindness, caring for us with surpassing compassion, every manifestation in this world now of the 3 jewels is your enlightened activity. You are then our only refuge, incomparable, supreme, so from our hearts we pray, with total confidence and faith. Do not neglect the great promises you made in times gone by, but hold us until we attain enlightenment with your compassion. Supreme Teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, complete and perfect Buddha, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni Buddha, to you I pay homage, to you I make offerings, in you I take refuge. Supreme Teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, complete and perfect Buddha, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni Buddha, to you I pay homage, to you I make offerings, in you I take refuge. Lama Tongpa Tempente, Teshente Pa Chachopa, Yangdak Parzo Pepange, Pawakawa Shakya Tupala, Chaksal Lotu Chap Tu Chio. Teatau Muni Muni Ma Muni Moha, Teatau Muni Muni Ma Muni Soha, 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 Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Soha, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Soha, Om Muni Muni Ma Muni Soha. From the Buddha's body there emanates a great radiance of multicolored rays of wisdom light, dispelling all our own and others' obscurations, and causing all the genuine qualities of the Mahayana path to arise within us, so that we attain the level of perfection from which we will never return again to samsara. And so we'll go ahead and choose the next person. Katang Sen, can you do Zambala, please?
You can't unmute.
Yeah, I know. You can unmute now, Katang.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Namo, I go for refuge to the lamas, Paman Sabra, Chenrezig, and the three jewels, so that all mother sentient beings as fast as the sky achieve enlightenment. I give rise to bodhicitta. From the unfabricated empty nature of mind, the play of unceasing clear and empty rigpa, I arise as noble Zambala, clear white holding a staff in the right hand and a jewel-producing mongoose in the left. He is decorated with precious ornament. He is on a cushion of lotus and moon, and sit in the position of authority on a turquoise dragon. He is surrounded by the retinue of the four classes of dakinis, all with their own hand implement and ornament. At the crown are Amitabha and Chenrezig, the five family of the victorious longevity deities, and the Lama of Uddiyana, Pamasabtapa, father and mother. They arise in the vastness of empty clarity, rainbow light, appearing but without self-nature. At the heart of Zambala on a moon, visualize a mantra garland and C-syllable Zam. Light radiates make offering to the victors and gather their blessing, purify obscuration of sentient beings and increase longevity and merit, gathering all accomplishment and dissolving into me. Blessing and accomplishment fall like rain. Om Pema Troda Arya Zambala Hridaya Om Pe. Om Pema Troda Arya Zambala Hridaya Om Pe. Om Pema Troda Arya Zambala Hridaya Om Pe. Da Kini Hari Ni Si Sa Si Sam Ji Ze Nor Ti So Peljor Nyandrak Wantan Kaya Waka Tsa Wansham Kuru Soha. The assembly of deities gather into one and dissolve into the realm of Uddiyana, the essence of the mind, objectless, vast, original purity, Ah. By this virtue, may all transient beings have effortless, spontaneous attainment, and may there be good fortune in the land of the wealth deity of Uddiyana. Thank you.
Khenmo, would you and Lopön like to do Achi for us, please?
Also, the Jinang. Wajida Sawa Judo Dombe Ngale Yege Gapo Jo Dele Wo Pade Me Ban Trip Sanje Chancho Samba Nam Chu Tunde Shela Tem Shede Yong Se Jurban Abje Kumdo Karmo Jene Shabne Je Deje Neba Nabza Darje Halo Sowa Rambo Jen Hatsu Je Jim Kayena Ngukaraje Melon Zemba Dema Won Tata Tuson Zip Chayuna Yeshen Jen Nova Nava Sowa Tamna Gundu Tamjen Jungwar Chu Rangi Tukara Dawe Chunkro Je Tende She Kapo Lang Haje Kowar Chu O Mama Zara So Wa Yar Du Sawan Du Ranza Ranza Du Mama Du Hong Pe So O Mama Zara So Wa Yar Du Sawan Du Ranza Ranza Du Mama Du Hong Pe So O Mama Zara So Wa Yan Du Sawan Du Ranza Ranza Du Mama Du Hong Pe So O Mama Zara So Wa Yan Du Sawan Du Ranza Ranza Du Mama Du Hong Pe So Wa O Mama Zara So Wa Yan Du Sawan Du Ranza Ranza Du Mama Du Hong Pe So Wa是现在人所把电去接触，功德伽马见面见巴吉，可为罗达肯西乌阿玛，地切嘎德拉ram切巴摩地，下界参涅些见从别个，下言扎若念巴kun恰着。用巴图那一切努文真，这巴波拉我这根子结，萨我那耶那扎古拉索，人波切结达拉切切变波，切是真是切达蒙波切，有的人蒙波是波见，达切罗那咩咩有见着。萨我的爹是嘎嘎的的，耶稣把的他莫切别词。天 bo ponya chung zhe dong, le me ne jie kan zhe co jie ge, chen le jie de zhe me ngang zhe jie, peng sum co ne par jian zhe gong de, lun ju be zhe ga song gen zie ma, ten ba song zhe dong man de jie la, tu dang jie ge jiu yue chen le zu, jia yue den song tu de wang mo jie, zhen jiu be jie jiong wei dam zi jie, a jie jie zhu ko dang jie ba la, so lo ju dong du du gong zheng zu, jia yue den song tu de wang mo jie, zhen jiu be jie jiong wei dam zi jie, a jie jie zhu ko dang jie ba la, so lo ju dong du du gong zheng zu, jia yue den song tu de wang mo jie, zhen jiu be jie jiong wei dam zi jie, a jie jie zhu ko dang jie ba la, so lo ju dong du du gong zheng zu. Ranye doje namjo ma geje sawe che so de, je de sung go re na she, zhe ge ran qian qian de jo, to ge sa wang pa me le, ram yang kan zhu ze nam je, ma da zhe ma gong jiang xin, la liang wu ma hong yan zhe, che ze ngo wo sa me je, ye xie de ce ran xian je,南巴所说人听者，八叶同声刚瓦尔觉尔，嗡阿嗡，嗡阿嗡，嗡阿嗡。那么萨瓦达坦嘎达巴永比琼比给比萨瓦提冈嘎迪萨瓦人，阿曼嘎嘎那康索瓦。那么萨瓦达坦嘎达巴永比琼比给比萨瓦提冈嘎迪。Sawarana magangana kansowa Sawadadanga damba yombe jombe gebe Sawade gangade sawarana magangana kansowa Omaga romoka sawadarmana adene benatuda oma wompesowa Omaga romoga sawadharmana dene bena duda oma wompesowa Omaga romoga sawadharmana dene bena duda oma wompesowa是然界业内人界之八业，马界萨祖三位均空的，今日学是所谓定松的，一切来了之边扎给马，嘎当当了那边索马就，去界因来就没苦之八，一切界的存在中国界。土当结果年得些事色，南卡天上也问巴为郎，切巴没来得着得着呢，切切切莫切那那啥，让给多半的是些事色，一些人来就没苦着吧。别当一切当在忘给了，让人推荐为定松去，切切忘着苦当结巴呢。Nga rong zhu dra zhu, bei zi qu bei yang mo len si len, qu dian san de du zi Gamtso jir, tam zang nin dra tam zi sa ma, zang za wong pa wo e la la wo, lu bang ga vya kar sha ya sa ma ya za. 是然些因然因所拉摩口达结巴根，他让天别地拉结巴拉就，我今儿也这去这江苏去了，另外一所个别强差多。耶德勒那罗迦 chona sapa sebe molam che te se da ke to ke re te re la san chom be te to jo ke ran se de che ta me za sa shen da je nyu mo se re men cho na cho da ta za ren che pu da aga re da le da ba la so je she na de zhe zhe din tam je da che ma ra wo kon sa do na so je de da zhen de te be san chun de cha wa je be par de la ma sa ye da do je nam je ko je sa ten so to mo yen so je je zhe le je kan ro ye she kan ro ma tam se kan ro wang ge ma sa se so se cho se ma san san a ma nyen ko so ge pa zhe da chen le cho mo ma mo ko dan che sha sa ma na dong ge so nan da ma mo kan ro ma le tam che san kan re she che so pe ta ba na cho mo ra che che ye wang cho ma la me re che che nga yang zhe da de ma chu ni ko da che pa sa da cha tam de nam je zhe ba bong ko ve la dan je che so me zo ka je ten pa ren che ba sha je so ma jam so zang ke chu la dan da la pon je tam zhe da nyam zhe kong zhe no zhe dong zhe nge re ba che na zhe da te zhe se me zang chung gen sang ge da zhe ne te tra sang zhe chu ga sa mo ye la song jie xian nyam cha su zhe ne par shu mi ten chen ge che wa da pun so sang pa chu chen ro pa shu jie de ren la song bang du du xu jie zhe mi wang bang du ten zi che na sang wa ye xu jie zhe mi wang bang du qu zhen de ge na zu jie xu jie zhe mi wang bang du me ge de yang ro mo ye xu jie zhe mi du ha dan cha jia ten zhen jie xu jie zhe mi wang bang du si bi zi mo lian to wa qu jie zhe mi wang bang du nü da zi wu li si wa qu jie zhe mi wang bang du yi xin no ru da ge wa qu jie zhe mi wang bang du yer jie jiang co da jie wa qu jie zhe mi wang bang du jia de me ne per jie qie qu jie zhe mi wang bang du jin jiu zhong xian tong zhe qie qu jie zhe mi wang bang du su ma me dang ma zhe xian kong de den yu yu ji jian te jin ba yong pen su gen te ren da ge yang de lin cha yang jiang co xian de jie su ma te jin qie nam jie nian bu den ba ren jie song den zhen per jie den ba ran zu da jia me ne ko jie la cha qi gong ju be qi si zha jia chong gen du kan he ge ka ren he se che yan dong gen ren zhen zu ge wan de yen to la de che je zhe bo ge me che ya na ra ge sa dom ne ko we jam so jen ba shu tu je she na Miss Mahakala Miss Mahakala please guide Roma.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Oh, please consider me. Oh, please consider me. Oh, please consider me. Glorious Vajra Guardian, Great Black One, Mahakala, and glorious Bright Bhairava, Haruka, Chakra Samvara. By nature you are one within Dharmata. In essence you are the same within exalted wisdom. In character you are equal in unhindered activity. Hero who defeats all unfavorable circumstances, you are the most Lord of all appearance and existence, gods and demons, fierce protector who is the great leader of activity oppressors. Invincible sovereign, your radiant splendor, you protect awareness holding yogins as if they were your own children, and assess the concentration of oath-bound practitioners, and are endowed with the radiance of peace, the splendor of increasing, the power of magnetizing activity, and are swift in the activities of liberating savage foes and hindrances. Your mighty skill to protect the teachings is superb. Powerful Lord Dordre Draksachan, great war god of yogins, please think of me. I, a yogin, invite Vajraharuka's enlightened body, speech, and mind to abide in me in this holy image as I engage in practice to attain unsurpassed enlightenment. Act so as to conquer obstacles to the path of supreme bliss and the dread of the four maras. Please cause me to encounter the samadhi escort that will guide me on the true path. Thus, until I attain enlightenment, help me not to walk on mistaken paths with body, speech, and mind, but cause my mind to turn toward freedom and enlightenment. May all unfavorable circumstances in this world be vanquished. May perfect auspiciousness and goodness pervade and increase. May gods, demons, and humans be overpowered, and at all times and in every circumstance, may enlightened activities be accomplished according to my supplications. As you are the glory and the guardian of all beings, please perform activities to grant supreme and common cities unobstructedly and effortlessly. May I vanquish all unfavorable circumstances, the enemies and hindrances with mistaken views and the like, and may perfect auspiciousness and goodness pervade and prevail. Mari, by the power of compassion and previous aspirations, Achitoki Droma, arise from unborn Dharmadhatu and look upon us from the expanse of exalted wisdom. Miraculously descend upon this activity mandala. Mother Achi, daughter of Nanam, powerful lady, Dharma Tara, wisdom Tara, Samaya Tara, magnetizing goddess, flesh-eating Karma Dakini, noble lady Tashi Sarigma, Milo Lok Sama, Trekar Dok Sama, Dikisa Sama, and Chopindrig Sama. Protectors of the lineage forefathers, protectors of secret hermitages, protectors with Samaya who pledge to protect the teachings of the Kagyu lineage. Your luminous wisdom never fades, your compassion never withholds, your blessings are close and your power unobstructed. All of you, bless us yogins and our retinue with your enlightened body. Bless us with your enlightened speech. Bless us with your enlightened mind. Bless us with your enlightened qualities. Bless us with your enlightened activities. Act so as to conquer adverse circumstances and the dread of the four maras. Please cause me to encounter the samadhi escort that will guide me on the true path. Thus, until I attain enlightenment, help me not to walk on mistaken paths with body, speech, and mind, but cause my mind to turn toward freedom and enlightenment. May all unfavorable circumstances in this world be vanquished. May perfect auspiciousness and goodness pervade and increase. May gods, demons, and humans be overpowered, and at all times and in every circumstance, may enlightened activities be accomplished according to my supplications. As you are the glory and the guardian of all beings, please perform activities to grant supreme and common cities unobstructedly and effortlessly. May I vanquish all unfavorable circumstances, the enemies and hindrances with mistaken views and the like, and may perfect auspiciousness and goodness pervade and prevail. Zaya, Zaya, Siddhi, Siddhi, Phala, Phala, Ho. Thank you, Khenmo. Would you like us to select the next person as we usually do, or would you like to do that?
Kongso, Kemola Kongso, mi shimbache, donkin unze tata, Kongso damga lena yang na chi damga lengimbela.
That's a Contemplating Rana Lazo.
That's all. They said, please, she said, please choose.
Okay, Mariette, would you like to continue?
Thank you, Debbie. Out of the mandala of Dharmakaya great bliss, you protect against dangerous diseases such as epidemics and against untimely death. I pay homage to you, mother of wish-fulfilling activities, golden-colored Panashavari sitting on a lotus seat. Your main face is yellow, the right face blue, and the left face white. Your hair is bound up in a top knot, and you are full of splendor. I pay homage to the divine body of the goddess who grants accomplishments. Illustrious one, you are the embodiment of wisdom and compassion. You dwell in the midst of masses of fire, which is burning like the fire at the end of time. With your 3 faces and 6 arms, you look terrifying and wrathful. I pay homage to you who has one leg outstretched and the other bent. Wearing a robe of leaves, holding bow and arrow, a battle axe, and a bundle of branches. Panashavari, you display the threatening mudra and hold a vajra. I pay homage to you, great mother, protectress of beings. The crown of myself as Panashavari consists of the 5 victorious ones. From their hearts flow streams of milky nectar, filling my body, thus visualize. In this way, all wrongdoings and obscurations are purified. Om Pishati Panashavari Sawamari Prashamani Hong. 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 Om Vetrasatu Samaya Manu Palaya Vitsa Satutinopa Zitsa Zitso Me Bawa Sutokayo Me Bawa Supokayo Me Bawa Anulato Me Bawa Sawa Sede Mitrayata Sawakama Sutsami Hisitam Shriam Kuruham Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Patsa Mami Munza Patsapawa Mahasamaya Satua. May the great Vajradhara, the true Lama, who is the essence of all Buddhas, grant the auspiciousness of the goddess Panashavari to all beings of the 3 realms without exception and to myself. Glorious goddess Panashavari, you liberate all others and myself from the infliction of great harm. Having taken refuge in you, sublime goddess, please protect us from all dangers. Thank you, everyone. Julie, would you like to continue with the Tara?
Okay, thank you, Mariette. In the reign of unborn mother of Dhamma Tatu, abides the Reverend Mother, the deity Tara. She bestows happiness on all sentient beings. I supplicate Mother Tara of Dhamma Tatu to protect us from all fears. Not realize oneself as Dharmakaya, the mind of sentient beings are overpowered by negative emotion. These beings wandering in samsara are mind mothers. I supplicate Mother Tara, deity of great compassion, please protect us. If the meaning of Dharma is not born in one's heart, one just follows the words of convention meaning. We are deceived by delusory philosophical views and dogma. I supplicate Mother Tara of perfect wisdom, please protect us. It is difficult to understand our own mind as Buddha's mind, seeing nature mind but not familiarized with it through practice. We are lost in unwholesome worldly activity. I supplicate Mother Tara of perfect mindfulness, please protect us. The absolutely nature of mind is self-arising, non-dual Buddha wisdom, yet because of habitual grasping to dualistic conception, we are bound by it. No matter what we do, I supplicate Mother Tara of non-dual wisdom, please protect us. Although we abide in the perfect meaning of absolute truth, we do not understand the interdependence of cause and effect on the relative level. We are ignorant about the true reality of phenomena. I supplicate Mother Tara of Two Truths Omniscience, please protect us. Like the nature of space, which is beyond all conception limits, the reality of all conditioned phenomena is no different from that. But there are disciples on the path who do not realize it. I supplicate Mother Tara of perfect enlightenment of the three kayas, please protect us. Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Sangha. The next one, David, would you like to do it? David?
Is it David Diaz or David? Which?
David and Gardoma?
Oh, David. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
To Organ Rinpoche we pray, grant us without impediment or obstacles arising, favorable circumstances, the fulfillment of our aspirations and attainments, ordinary and supreme. Embodiment of the Buddhas of past, present, and future, Guru Rinpoche, Master of all cities, Guru of great bliss, dispeller of all obstacles, wrathful subjugator of Maras. To you I pray, inspire me with your blessing, so that our hidden and secret obstacles are dispelled, and all my aspirations are spontaneously fulfilled. Emaho, marvelous Buddha, making boundless light, Lord of great compassion, on your right. On your left, the Sattva with great power, countless Buddhas, Bodhisattvas round. There is marvelous, countless happiness in the pure land that's called Dewachin. Then when I and others pass, may we swiftly cut off all the other births. Born there we see Amitabha's face. Now I chant this aspiration prayer. Bodhisattvas, Buddhas on 10 sides, bless us to gain right free of obstacles. Teyata pensadriya awa bodhanaya soha. Bodhicitta, excellent and precious mind, where it is born may not arise. Where it is born may not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. And Khenmo, could you please finish our practice for the day? Thank you.
So, dila cham jason vela.
Rela, da de sarne chi jema nangro nangla so.
是没去见接波让你总三界跟见我你上身这个龙身动机。在为了没小了故乡在，多节相接的罗那罗当，马巴马来去接干波，巴摩这巴接完这公巴，感觉拉玛那拉故乡在，刚给独自捏中心，大瓦当接帮为起来，当别去那东西，不当的拉故乡在。라소 드니 토마르 남바 렌제 차마라 다 가시 나도 인지리 가시 니고 인지리 가시 고모 있으바리 다 차마라 나gon 뒤손다 참베게 남바 렌제 차마라 다시 델레 쉬기요라.
So first of all, Khenmo, I would just like to say welcome to everyone and thank you so much for joining us from all over. She knows everyone is in different time zones. For some of you, it's morning. For some of you, it's evening. For some of you, any time of the day it might be. And so all of you across the 3 times, thank you and welcome.
단디게 삼조데라 데네 켄보제초 켄보산도라 콘 데치칼레 만보제 아니 데인데 공기미도 데인데 체기 지랑게 데 주제 신나 데네 sonson 데네 가게 콘라라 소소 시바yen 데인데 데네 드랭게 데네 마라 힌도 소소 간시시제 힌도 이게 콜라 숑게요스.
And so Khenpo Samdra Rinpoche has asked Khenmo to give some teaching, some instruction to all of you. So she has agreed. And therefore, she thought it would be most beneficial to speak some about the practice of Ngondro, or the preliminaries. So she'll share what she can with you about that.
데네 다치단게 다다다 맞아 다 드랭 혼조 쉬야 인도 지당 다 남주 ngaranso 혼조 데라 지당게 남바 망보지요와 앞에나다 ngaranso 주제 나라야 혼조 다다 배차단 된 배스나리 망보요레 데네 ngaranso 다 마인 베게 주제 나나 혼조게 흔로 다다 차지시야다 흔로 데님 봉아다 봉고라서 바다 만다 만보지 유데버와 네 다다 드랭 알아서 시안로제나 데네 다다 삽주 나데 데네 냠레 마제게 콘라 데네 니바드 다다 나데 그 흔로데 니바드 냠레 난고 요바인자 드랭 알아서 시안로제나 데네 나데 그 흔로데 차디우스.
So when it comes to the practice of Ngondro, or the preliminaries, there are so many different styles of Ngondro practice, different collections, that are connected with different cycles of teaching, different lineages, and so forth. There's also the different, for instance, generally speaking, the common 4 sections, but sometimes, with the accumulation of 500,000, sometimes the accumulation with 900,000. What she is teaching from is the practice of Ngondro that is particularly practiced in our Dragon Kagyu lineage that follows, the course of the Fivefold path of Mahamudra. So the Ngondro, or preliminary cycle, that is the Fivefold that belongs to the Fivefold path of Mahamudra.
데네 다 지당 알아서 다 코아나나 지진다 알아서 좋아 신진 탐지 알아서 지 코아나네 제사베게 쇼고라 데네 지 라진게 지 알아서 동해게 라진다고 다 데지 자기 요래데 이나야다 지 동해게 라진 바데 다 망파치와지 동해게 라진다 동해 뇽진 바데 지 인바이나야 네데 동해게 라진 바데 소소게다 초도게 말와 dendu ane che simjin sulayena yang den che doje den ngaranso dewa che thomna sambe ke den che lo yore de dene ngaranso ke de mundu pa de ane che dungye da kangye che ma jong na sambe ke den che lo che yore de te ina yang ngaranso doje ke dewa de yang 토마토 드마시 안 대나진 게 나란서 게 민도베 게 동해대 제 만도나야 아니 제 란신 게 드네 제 동해대 강암 쇼쇼 게 드네 제대 받는데 제 연구 요레스
And so, we, being having taken birth in samsara or cyclic existence, we witness and experience ourselves the inevitable suffering of sentient beings. And so all sentient beings who wander in cyclic existence, they are trapped in this endless cycle of suffering, not knowing or not feeling, not understanding why we continue to experience suffering. So all sentient beings are in the same boat and wishing to have happiness. Everyone wants to be happy and nobody wants to suffer. So everyone wishes, not to have to suffer. And yet still, even though there is this attempt to experience happiness, a suffering occurs again and again because we don't properly understand how to really bring about the true causes of happiness. And so, without that understanding, then we have no choice but to experience hardship and difficulties, suffering again and again. And that is the nature of being a human being trapped in cyclic existence.
아주 너네 지당다 아주 대상게 두줄라 얘네 오네게 다치 tun진 니마 레레네 레레다 쟁오네게 자진단 tun진 간지기 돈이 부숨 저바 자기 요래데 이나야 나란소 좋아 대다게 지다 나란소 심진 대다게 샘감게 대진로지라 차촌 바이나 되네 오네게 치기 응보야 지침바나지게 나게 샘감데 니마레레라 야진로 두고 요래스나 안로 두고 메반라고 진도와 대나지게 지 나게 샘감 때되네 제 강에다 나자다 되네 제 동에다 마르마르 되네 제 인도그레스
And it's interesting because right now we live at sort of a peak of modernization. These days, in these modern times, there's so much technology, so much that is externally, that has made our lives more convenient, that has made things more comfortable. And there's a real abundance of, convenience and material comfort, and yet inwardly there isn't the same sort of development happening within with the mind. So even though the outer circumstances may be such that they seem to really support well-being and happiness, inwardly it's almost the opposite. There's like a decline of mental wellness, or mental health and well-being. And so there's an increase of difficulties internally. There's more mental illness. There's more, internal hardship and suffering internally or emotionally, mentally.
근데 다 지당 알아서 제게 응보를 야제 침바 대추게 지당게 알아서 로아미게 제 손에라 핀 토다 토핀 토게 요래데 이나야 당은이 알아서 제 로아미데서 제다 내 나자나 용으로 로야 되네 제 생카면나 찌른 로야 되지나 제다 무제게 나나 제 되지 치르치른 로야 되 뭐마데 땡 알아서게 다제 추냠린다 되네 제 곰냠린 지야데다 오네게 뱀세베게다 미나지 미지 나와이나 땡아좀 미사나지다 펜도 요로와다 땡데 미지고지 팽게 말에 네바게 합자고 와나지 다다다 펜도 치슈라오데 이네 곰냠네다 추냠네 지제들인도스
And so, of course, there is, some benefit, definitely some benefit that has occurred through, this advancement, in a external sense, and a lot of benefit that comes from that. But when it comes to developing inner happiness and well-being, then really our best, what option or what we have available to us are the practices that spirituality, that the Dharma provides for us. So it's really in practicing the Dharma and meditating that we can develop our inner experience, our mind, develop well-being and happiness internally, mentally and emotionally. This is what will be of the most benefit to us. It's really like medicine. So when we take medicine, of course, we can't just, get a hold of the medicine, but we have to actually put it into practice. We have to actually, receive the correct instructions and then actually take the medicine. And so it's similar with the Dharma practices, understanding them and then actually relying on them, putting them into practice.
다 알아서 추냠내 지야다 검냠내 지야다 개침보리 된도 다 알아서 추냠내다 검냠내 담보 제발라 토마 알아서게 되네 개치슈데 알아서게 다제 코아스나레 되네 쟁문에게 코아다 소소게 다제 알아서 델라진 힘봄도 삼베게 쟁문에게 동해게란 신지레샤스 ane chengone ke deji yang ta pa che thopi mendos ende ta cheng khoa de ngone ke nyimpo mendu sambe ke ane cheng khoa de le che thana sambe ke ge chi chu de khoa de ne thana sambe ke thandu ke lo che che go re enda we ke tini nipa de la ene khoa de le thane tini nga chengone chancho ke kompang che thomna sambe ke lo che che ende che ke lo che ende tini khoa de la ranshin ke ngjong sia che tini khoa de le pa lo do be ke ngjong sia che chen go re ende che che en pa ina tini ngone ke 추냠내 지하게다 코아델 로도 비쇼거든 오늘 추냠내 지나야한테 오늘게 배나 신가 야부 차서나 말한속에 돈도담나 야부 찌기로 어디나 진지 참고레스.
And so when we practice meditation, when we practice the Dharma, what is really of most important as the foundation of our practice is a genuine understanding in the essencelessness of samsara, really, really being convinced, really understanding that samsara, that cyclic existence is the nature of suffering. And so then when we have that understanding, then we really have the desire to get free. And that desire to be free based on understanding the essencelessness of cyclic existence, it is renunciation. And that renunciation then turns us toward the goal of liberation and awakening. And so we really long to become free. We really long to reach this state of awakening. And when we cultivate that understanding of the essencelessness of, worldly pursuits, then it becomes natural to have this mind of renunciation. And we turn away from samsara, and it becomes like, the fertile field that our Dharma practice is cultivated in. So like when you have a field with really fertile soil, then whatever you plant in that field will grow.
된도 다 알아서 코알레 지 탄나 삼베게 지 로진 코알라 지 다 알아서 로도 베게 코아데지 야본 힘보 지면도 삼베 로도 지 로도 바지 마제나 되는 오네게 추냠네야 지 양다 바지 용토 말레라 치바양 되는 지 양다 바지 용토야 데베 칼레 카보찬 고레스 된데 토마 데코란 코에게 란진데 시 되는 달베게 란진지 시 근데 제게 로예베게 토네 되는 제 오네게 다 말한서 혼주 냠레 나레 추냠레 칸데 제레 슈바이나 되는 오네게 펜토여 바지다 네바yen게 미지 찬 고레스.
And so if we don't have this understanding of the essencelessness of samsara, if our mind hasn't really turned away, and we still have some hope, to find happiness in samsara, if we don't have genuine renunciation, it will be really difficult to have great success in our Dharma. It will be difficult to really have correct Dharma practice. So so if, this necessitates really understanding the nature of samsara and also really understanding the nature of liberation. And when that understanding is there and there's a solid foundation of renunciation, this brings real power and energy to our Dharma practice.
Tene ta ngaran so Ngondro ke nyamne do che ta nga zo de nang ba ke kap sin de la yang tene che Ngondro de ta zo de sanga do je de be ke ta che khong zo do ban do tene che ta yin tu sam ba ane Ngondro ke nyamne thoma nang wala tene ngaran so che lama jibe ke che jiba yu jibe ke jiba dan je de wa tene che ta ta je tom ba chum den de ke ane che kai gum ba dan je de wa tene lama kuma nam ke menga ke che ta menga dan danga ke che jiba dan je de wa tende che ta ngaran so so ke che ta nyamne ke jiba de pe mse pe ke chen bo re samga ke nyamne khande che nyamne che na ya ane che nga chu nyamne develop ala so ba ta nyamne chi chogi yore de ina ya che jiba dan menga jiba che lama ko me jiba dan menga che je de yo na tene ngone ke jinhab dan ane che khare na su nyamne de la leader yumala pe mse pe kensin chenpo yores.
Mhm. Mhm. So when practicing Ngondro or the preliminaries, just as actually in the context of any Vajrayana practice, especially, these practices of secret mantra Vajrayana, it's really important that we have also kind of as to preceding our practice, that we have reliance on the Lama, that we practice, a Lama Chupa or offering to the Lama, that we rely on the lineage Lamas of the past, and that this is, that we also practice in such a way that's connected with the instructions that we have received, the pith instructions. So this is to say, the reason to say this is because it's important to understand, the role that lineage plays in all of our practice. So if, for instance, we can read lots of books about practice, about Buddhism, but without a connection to lineage, without, having received instruction, without, the connection with lineage there, then we won't really be able to gain so much. So, for instance, to really receive the attainments or siddhis, the only way to do this is through also, connection to the lineage.
Then ta ngaran ro na chidang ke ding hun ro de ta ngaran so chuji ke lama nambe ke kumde ni tene tham long ta che la so ba tham nyong yo tene ngaran so ta nyamne this nyamne che ge be ko che re then ta tren che namba la na de shya re then tren ngaran so ke ta nga de ke hun ro na ne ta dan de ke dan de ta da nga de hun ro chan ju lam san she ba de re then da de ki thone de nga ran so hun ro nyam ne de thola da shu go re da chidang ke las ta bu de so na sha na la.
And so many, all of you have, received a lot of empowerments, transmissions, and teachings from our qualified lamas or gurus. You've also done a lot of practice. And also from Khenmo's side, she also has, she's likewise received these teachings, transmissions, and empowerments, and has done the practice herself. Gone through the course of training of the Fivefold Path of Mahamudra, the Ngondro practices. So this particular practice that she will be teaching is, let me just open the sadhana so I have the name. So this is the excellent path to enlightenment, the practices of the preliminaries of the fivefold path of Mahamudra. The Shodang kapar gotsuyayin.
Shodan de Shodan Jubdun Rishala.
Judin, that's all. And we'll be starting from page 12.
Shodan Jubdun 17 Ridoila.
Oh, 17? Oh, Chubdun, sorry. 17. Gongta.
Lasso.
Yeah.
Dene Chidange, da Hondo de la Hazo Madinki Hondo Doji, Naya Chidange, Hondo de la Nasiki, Yewa Somirwa. Also Timon Chi Hondoji, and it Timon Mayan Big and Tangaranzo Nangi Hondoji, Dene Dadang as Chepan Hondos and Hondola number some Dawajit in the song Gedwa. Then do Dene Dajan Hondo Shiba the Tang as a country Chadurisina, Chidanta Yundala, Tangaranzo Hondo Shiba Deji, Honla Yamle Chijin by Chigoya Chidan, Dene Hondosia the Music in Yamle Mayimba.
So in general, there are these three categories of the preliminaries. So we have, first the four common preliminaries, or the outer preliminaries, the inner preliminaries, and then the special preliminaries. So are the common, the uncommon, and the special. So the common preliminaries generally have four categories. The uncommon has four categories, and the special preliminaries have three categories. And the preliminary, even in the word itself, Ngondro, this means literally preliminary, meaning that it's not the actual practice, the main practice, but that which it precedes the main practice and is necessary to complete in order to enter into the main practice.
Then do that. Une Chevaina, Tangaranzo, Hundro de Jindo Genata, Hundro de Kachimbo Mayimba, Hula, Yamnechi Jimbato, Tended Gonzo, you de Bandawajan, Tended Chitan Hundro de Missibeke, Kachimbo Chadures, then do that. John Jidin Sumjin Compute, Tended Son Yorua, Chitange, Hundro Yamnete, Muneke. Jingi Jing Hundro Yamne de Kachimbo Mayimba. Tene uji de kechimbo yamba tere tsiki yorede konge tene hondo ma nyamle naombe ke kapsala hondo de tene ngone thane ke ta hondo ke nyamle de pe mese be ke ta kechimbo re shas hondo de khoran hondo nyamle khoran uji ndawo je thongso ma to be ke hondo ke nyamle de tene ngone ke kechimbo mayin pa je da ane ta hondo sia je sola thoma son tene son nandwala.
And so the preliminary practices, even though they're referred to as the preliminary practices, they are really so important. They're like the most important part of the entire path of practice, really. And sometimes, it may be thought that the preliminaries are less important, or one, sort of does the preliminaries with the objective to get to the main practice. But this is really a misunderstanding. For instance, as Lord Jigten Sumgön has said, others may regard the preliminaries as being less important than the main practice, but I consider the preliminaries to be the most profound. So the preliminaries themselves are actually like the main practice. They're so crucial, so important to the entire process of the path, that they're really like the most important part.
And do that, Honge Sonia de Ngondro de Pemese Beta, Subsonia Geta, Nengando, which Carato de Ursina, that Timon Che, Hondo Jita, which is not in Moneke, Donhanija, Timoge, Donhanija, Tipa Timoge, Yamnindo, which is Chagere, Tene Tela Tembege, Tenejadangazo, that Timon Mayan baking Hondo Jita, which is not in a Lapardo Dina, that Mendado, which is not in Moneke. Music in Yamne the Chang do Matobe, the Neche Mundo Layaji sorted the Neche, nga den ki nyam ni la da che pe mi se pe za chen bo kha ji den de che kong ke se ma song den de che song nang dos.
And so the four preliminaries, the four common preliminaries belong to both the practice of sutra and also tantra. They fall into the category of both. And so actually in particular, and likewise, the uncommon preliminaries have this really crucial element that is, so actually, Lord Jigten Sungmun, it said, Lord Jigten Sungmun Sungyore Sungyobela. The Dadung Lord the Jigten Sungmun Sungyobela. Or Chitang.
And ji den sung gong ke la den mun do den u chi na che se song se la.
Yeah. And so this the practice he says, I haven't seen anything more important or more profound, more actually like embodying the meaning of the main practice in the preliminaries themselves. Mhm. That's
ji den sung gong ke ngui ji le jang mun do sab song go ya ke nen ga zo do de ka wa tho de yer sin mun do ke chu nyam ne de da nga ran so chi wa chi ma pen che le da chi chu ki nyam ne ki ji sa yin ban do ji da ni ne nga ran so ke nga den ke cha cha chen bu ke to pa de ngun do chor go na ene ngi bar do mun do ke nyam ne de ene che me de ma rong wa che ji yin ba yin zang de ne che ngune ke 초소남 사야라서 강치게 돈에 되는 제 무도 냠는데 메타 메바 제인서 되는 공부 무도 냠는데 내가 지에서 된데서 son사를.
And so Jigten Sungen stating that the preliminaries are even more profound or more important than the main practice is that this is like the very root, the very foundation. Without that, there's no way to proceed. There's no way to go forward or to continue to really actually have genuine understanding and experience in the practice of the Fivefold Path of Mahamudra. And so without the preliminaries, there's nothing else. There's no way to go forward. And so for that reason, it really is the most profound, the most important aspect of our practice.
그래서 되네 당아서 지단게다 당아서 투몽 치행 혼도 진도 지 토마이 슈바이나 다 투몽 치행 혼도 지데다 단데니마 단데와 당아서 투몽 치행 혼도 진도 지나 되네 아서 다 첸데라베 메세베게 챵차 쳔보유디 아니 첸데 당아랑서 지 기보단 다 쳔원에서 첸데라지 야보지도 삼베 셈 하장게 챵차 쳔보지 이게 챵차데 파도야게 치도라드네 아주 tenjon hepa kaware sheba de song gedwa ene de na jin ke ta ngaran so ta o nge chu sani je go na ni je go ne de de san ta nga so lelo cha je de je len do tenje ke je lelo de le pa do par cha be ke che de la de ne je o ta nga so je mada pare da sta nga so ne ke ngaran so ke chen de ane pe me se be ke ta khati shin ro dan de me shi ba che mada paran shi re sin de san ba de nyom le ta le lo ki nyim bo mada ba de tin go ro la de na jin ke de ne chik ta sipa khamsong kho an de la de ne ke chik dewa thar to pa chen du sta one chi po je de dewa chen du san de ke dewa che la cha ang du de ke pha chik ta sipa khamsong kho wa ke dewa da tham je chik ta one ke thar to ke dewa che ma yin pe ten ya ke che chi do la de ne chin kho du nge se ya che tin go ro la dene jiba de da nga zo 단조 말로 romboji thoba de je thunda ye ba ji da kendo ye ba ji de zoya ke che do dene da nga zo le jim de sia do da timo chi hon ro ji de dene je song go yan ro je dene re shas.
Mhm. And so to begin with, we have the four common preliminaries, which are the four thoughts that turn the mind. And so first, to counteract our sort of complacency and being very attached to our life, thinking, oh, they're just completely caught up in the phenomena of our worldly life and thinking, really this just enjoying life as we this one life without thinking beyond the content of this life itself. First, to understand the rarity of this opportunity to be born as a human being with the precious, with the leisures and endowments is the way to counteract fixation and sort of a limited fixation to this life alone, by contemplating the preciousness of achieving a human rebirth with the leisures and endowments and how rare that is. And then secondly, to counteract the mind of or the tendency of procrastination when it comes to Dharma practice, thinking, oh, I'll practice tomorrow, I'll practice the Dharma tomorrow, I'll practice the next day, kind of putting it off or having this idea that this is something we'll get to in the future. What counteracts that kind of complacency or laziness in particular, is the contemplation of impermanence. And then thirdly, once we understand impermanence, still and not knowing, when it is we'll die, how long we have. So impermanence and the imminence or inevitability of death. So this really counteracts kind of indifference, laziness, and procrastination. And then when thinking that not having this understanding of the real suffering that pervades all of samsara, the three realms of samsara, then we may think, oh, really, actually, samsara is really kind of nice. We can find happiness, we can find pleasure and well-being in samsara. Then to counteract that attachment to samsara altogether, we contemplate the suffering of samsara. And then fourth, to really make our life meaningful, the way to understand, with these other levels of understanding, then to really be convinced that we are going to use this opportunity well to accomplish what is truly meaningful, then we contemplate the fourth of the four thoughts that turn the mind, which is karma, cause, and effect, which brings meaning, which helps us to really make our lives meaningful. Lasso, conta.
Las da nga zo danjo nye tsende nyembo le shimbe de nga zo da thoma de danjo nye ba kawa sia de da nga zo thoma de derwa den da de ge na la da ge danjo tenzan de chine ya yang nye ka we dare lame janjo je compound drop de jin do ja se de je song nan do den du da nga ran so ge denjo mili rumbo che de ne je nga ran so jewa homa ane nga ran so so nam sa ba ane je so nam ya pu je sa ba le tin ne ane da nga ran so ge da na mien ge de we de chen de ni la tin nga ran so da danjo da wa je danjo jo je dan den pe tin mili rumbo che de thop sha ba je res.
So first, with the first contemplation of the difficulty of achieving a precious human rebirth with the leisures and endowments, in the text on page 17, it says, now that I have found a precious human body with freedom and connection, which will be difficult to find again, I must practice to attain the state of unsurpassed enlightenment for the benefit of others. And so understanding that this is incredibly rare to have a precious human birth with leisures and endowments, and it only could have come about through a prior vast accumulation of merit, because in former lives we must have really accumulated a great deal of merit, and that merit has ripened or manifested in the form of achieving in this life a precious human birth with the leisures and endowments.
Tendu da nga ran so tenjo mili rumbo che thop de ban de la gin de ma san da nga ran so tenda ni yo ba do che cha yo ba jig de nga ran so ka re sin je wa ma so so nam sa ba de da nga ran so ke nam ye che lu de thom de ne che ngone ke da je wa ma nga ran so de do khare che che sha ba de na chen de ke lu ki thola che nyong ko yo ba do ji ji da ti lo do ji ro ane jig de nga ran so lang gin che chen bo ji ka re yo re sin 다 다대게 ngaranso 물르rum보 제데 배주다네 지 ngaran소게 다지 지와 치마라 간디 차게 여바세야데 다대게 ngaran소게 루기 톨라다 ngaran소 다다 ngaran소게 게적 디봉 간디 제바이나야다 데 지와 님 치마라 간디 차게 여바데다 ngaran소 다다 하장겐 괜찮지 뭐지요. 제와 치마랑 알아서 간도 자기 외면데 알아서 다다게 소소게 다진 알아서게 주 게르블란더 지단다 소소랑게 다대게 되네 제 자주다 꿀홍라 뱀세베 델다나드는 알아서 제와 치마 간도 차고보다 란진기지 하고와장 괜찮요 바지 창고레스.
So this contemplation on the precious human life with leisures and endowments, there are two aspects to this that which are very important to really understand deeply. So one is that this situation, which is really favorable, in which we have a precious human life with the leisures and endowments, is due to our virtue, our practice of virtue in the past, because we have accumulated merit. And it is the merit that we have accumulated through the practice of, wholesome activities, good deeds of virtue, of body, speech, and mind that we have accumulated in former lives that leads to what we now experience, this favorable rebirth as a human being with leisures and endowments. And then the second thing is to have, based on that understanding, to know that it is our opportunity now with the supportive conditions of having a precious human birth in this life, that if we use it well, we'll continue to create those positive causes or accumulate merit and virtue, which then, through practicing virtue, through abandoning non-virtue, that will lead to favorable conditions in the future in our next life. And so that becomes very important in feeling really determined to use this opportunity, which is a product of so much merit and virtue, to further create merit and virtue through understanding what to practice, what to do, what to avoid, and really having pure intentions and practicing virtue with those pure intentions will lead to favorable conditions likewise in the future.
네, 다 아주 다다 ngaranzo la da le de da chepar chenje thoyu de ne ngone ke ngaranzo ji semna la ji gawa chepar ji je go ba ji ngone ke je yo ba ji re ta ngone ke ngaranzo me mambo ji ke chida mulusia de hajang ke thop kha bore me ke lu thoba ina ya de ne je ngone ke chu drum khin ji da chu droya ke kokha yo ba ji da de ne ngone ke ji gebi shin ji che ba da 얘네 산지기 땜반 지야데 하장 공부 차대로 담보 톡가와 얘네 제이더니 고갑 드레제 톡카보리 얘네 나란솔라 다다 밀리잠본 데라오제 톡 산지기 땜바얀 지지요바 아니 게위신이 남바게 지 너네 추양 시제요바 남주 다바르시 켐보 추레 미세베든데 소야포 송난게도 쟁원에게 깨와 상보제를 얘나진 그 소소라양 추조야게 고갑지요바데 얘네 원에게 지 소데 쳔포인 삼지 소소게 인바데라 지 가와 치발진데 고고바데 눈매 개체보레스.
And so then, what is also especially important with this contemplation is that we have a deep sense of appreciation that arises, that we feel really joyful about our situation, that we really feel a sense of gratitude and appreciation. Because even though, so first of all, being born a human being is very rare, but maybe there are many people who are born as human beings, but then there's never any connection with the Dharma and throughout their life. And so to be born a human being and then especially to be someone who has met with the Dharma and who practices the Dharma, who has met with qualified spiritual teachers, has received teachings, has entered the path of practice, and has these conditions or opportunities available to actually enter the path of practice is extraordinarily rare. So we are really in this incredible situation, having a human birth, having met with the incredible spiritual teachers we have met with, and Khenpo Rinpoche always speaks to this too, how fortunate we really are, and really feeling a sense of deep gratitude and taking joy in our own good fortune. That this is really important.
근데 다 알아서 가와 치발진지 곰네 짐신로데 가르르세도 다 알아서게 다되게 르나신 Jiwa chima yang ngaran so la milu den dawo ji thop gi yeme de ha khoya yo marela ani pe mse pe ke thop khabo yamba dada de ji thop de wa de la gawa dan de yang ka ji thop gi yeme ha khoya ji yo marwa de de ani ngara so da de ke lu de ne ngone ke ji za chenbo ji da ge chenbo yamba ji de ji so so ge ha khowa ji go yores.
So really having a very deep sense of appreciation, and understanding that, how valuable, how precious, how profound to have this circumstance that we have, in this life, and really then thinking, okay, we have this circumstance now, but for this kind of good fortune and merit to occur for us again and again, is really unlikely, and there's no certainty, that, based on the fact that we have this now, that we'll have it again in the future. And so we really appreciate it now, understanding what an incredibly valuable opportunity it is, that is uncertain. It is not permanent, and that is uncertain if we will ever encounter such an incredible opportunity again.
Tendu ta ngaran so ke ta mi kidang ke mi mambo che ke mulu de ji za chen bo yin ba ji da de ne che mulu tho ba de an de ne pe ju ya bo ji ta ma tham ne mulu de ne cholan ro ro ba tendu ta ngaran so lu ne de che ya bo ji tho bo ka ya bo de ne che du de ne ngone tha ne ke ngaran so ke mulu de ani ta chola man ro wa ani mulu ro bo che de ne pe ju ya bo ji tang go yores pe ju tang se de sambala ta nga cho ke gom nyamne chi chu nyamne ya ko chi dine chengone ke thaba thamje chimbe ke lam drya la nyamne khan tu chithop ke dinde ke nyamne che ne so so ke mulun de ane da chu nyamne da thaba thoya ke chi de la dine rang so so ranye ina da je na chi ranye thaba thoya yin semjen de da thamje la dine che phin thoya ke ngone ke mulun de phejo yo ba che da mulun bo che de dine ngone dongdan den ba mche dongdan den ba chi 소소 그 무세나 지보여 봐 지나나 제 핀토야 그 무생문에 이게 된다요 바지 조거야 빼면서 개침 버리스.
So, many people who have a precious human rebirth, that is really the result of great ripening of merit, don't necessarily know how to take use of that great opportunity. And so, if we don't use this incredible opportunity well, if we don't make the best use of it, then it becomes like a waste. And so, in order not to waste such an extraordinary, precious opportunity, then we have to be very determined to put it to good use. And the way to do that is through practicing the Dharma. So if we practice well, then we create the conditions not only just for the continual increase of merit and good fortune, but especially to create the conditions for liberation altogether. And so if we understand and have this sense of great appreciation, for our the this precious opportunity as human beings, with precious human rebirth, and we use this as a way to bring benefit to others. If we practice the Dharma and we really focus on accomplishing the welfare and benefit of sentient beings, then we make this precious human life truly meaningful.
네, 다 가서 참리 다 나데지 물리자 침보지 톱송 스네 가와 단지 쪼와지 데네 뭐네게 소소게 추냠레지 다 요양도지 쇼르지네 지 물리자 침보지 임바지 임바데 징하란소 하 고위게 돈이 배주지 거마도 나 물리자 침보 단지 물리는 보지 톱송선 데데나 데네 핀토고 마레스 베나다 오다가 머리자른 침보지 톱선데 당에 산이 제 추제고 나니 제고 제니 제고 근데 제삼 근데 니마레레레레게 뜻소된 로로고 요래 근데 가란소게 당에 산이지 나니지 근데 정아 melin 자 침보지 톱선 산 가와 검지 해루지 되되나 뭐체데 요고요고 론로고 요 잔데네 데데 니마지라 가야 melin 보지데 배주 가야 땅마도 가야 자와 만들었네 근데 오늘게 니마지 다 Chirende Sambala, oh, Tapesa song, San Juba Chiana, then Monetane, Chitavares, Denza, Tanguneki Maranso, Muluboche, the Pejutan, Chudruaki, Kokamomate, the suit left the Yozan, and Moneke, Palagoreta, Moneke, Peju, but the Takandazo, the kitchen pocheredo, some of those.
So if we, on the other hand, just leave, if we just leave it at feeling a lot of appreciation and gratitude for the fact that we've achieved this precious human birth, and we have gratitude, but it doesn't go beyond the gratitude stage into a feeling of determination to make good use of this opportunity. Um, then we won't really we have to go to that next level of so first understanding how precious and profound it is to have this precious human birth with leisures and interments, really relishing, really feeling a sense of deep appreciation, gratitude, and joy in this incredible situation. But then if we have still that mind of procrastination that says, oh, tomorrow I'll get to it, the next day I'll get to it, and then day by day our life is being exhausted. So we may have appreciation, we may have gratitude, but then we're not really determined to get to work. And so then this life, it goes by so quickly. It's exhausted so quickly. And then one day we'll think, I didn't do what I always intended to do. And then it will be too late. So it's so crucial that that appreciation then evolves into a sense of real inspiration and determination to use this opportunity now to really put this really rare and precious opportunity to good use and to do it without procrastinating.
Lordena, that Maranso Tamjiki, Milirumboche Topsons and Gawaji Gom, in it that he Gawate Yubikitona, then Maranso Tamjiki, Milirumboche, and Dorduna, Milirumboche, the Cholamandovaji, that's so where the kitchen boys and Donate, that don't know.
And so we, in brief, we should all meditate, and contemplate in such a way that we develop this deep sense of gratitude or appreciation for the fact that we have this precious human birth. And then, in addition to that, to contemplate in such a way that we have a sense of urgency or determination not to let this human life go to waste.
Tenenda Nipate, Tangazo, Nomleta, Lelugan Yimpo, Madaba, said the Tangazo Madaba, de college again. Then do Tangaranzo Tamjiki, or choose Saniji, Naniji, and a Dinajamune Gipe, Lelugan and a Dinaja Lindo Gyoza, Tamjum Lurumboche, the Tangan Aranzo, Zachimbo, the Tanga, top. Tene toba ina yang tene lelu ku nganda tene je ta sani nani chudo se te ke ngaran so ta kowe na la ta chi jaja mambu chi drovya yorwa ta ngaran so inde ke ngani pa chi moche te je ta che te so de ni mare re tene je zon ro de ta mo de tene je ta o to so tham je mada pe ba tembe ke chi ta de ta sumba nyamle da tene lelo nyimpo ta mada pa temba se te te shu ya indu tene gela tene dende je song na do 다들 renqin lun de yang chibda de je zha dang we nam jing yi ba ma da ye da xin ma da chon de da se de je song nang duo ma da dang bo gong de song shan de la.
And so then secondly, so the second category is to contemplate impermanence. This is to counteract that very common tendency for procrastination, for laziness, for sort of a complacency that doesn't really have a sense of urgency to really apply ourselves to Dharma practice. So to counteract this, we contemplate impermanence. And so so this goes hand in hand with an understanding of how precious, precious human birth. So I've achieved a precious human birth. And when there's a tendency to say, oh, tomorrow, the next day, in the future, that understanding impermanence then helps us to avoid that tendency. Um, and we all have that tendency, she said. There's so much that occupies our attention in our worldly lives. The activities of samsara are endless. And so we can every day get caught up in, this or that. But each day we're losing time. And every single day our lifespan is being exhausted. So this is why it's so important to deeply reflect on the teachings of impermanence and to become in such a way that we become determined to use this opportunity now to practice what we know we are truly capable of. So as it says in the text, on seeing that the hostile Lord of death may strike my precious life at any time, I shall consider the impermanence of others and myself.
다 지당 맞아 다 무다바 지든데 손도 지당다 알아서 물리자 첨부지 탑도 요래 되네 다 알아서 봐야고 두스당데 이네 제 알아서 다다게 춘호긴 지딘스나야 단도 다 알아서 다다 내사긴 잡는 디로지를 차춘 바이나 되네 오늘게 베나 사염 겐네체 요데바 얘네 대나진게 추인지 바요데바 얘네 대나진게 되네 제가 좀 미에게 되는지 바요데바 얘네 대나진게 되네 제 롱긴지 바요데바 되네 텐트게 당아 좀 눈체다 마다 바란지 되네 가란소베 누긴지 된데 가란소 네세게 사잔된로나 란진게 진 주라 차지네 지드로이 바다 가란소 탐체게다 게 지게 요르와스 된도제 대나진게 양진 알아서 내세게 사jan도나지 야겐 뜻으로 야가다 지가게 뜻으로나 되는 정문에게 매도다 지신라서 바베 예동화된데 문에게 메탐지 예왕 초베게 된데지 용기도와 년지고 된데 다 예나야야 군카단 근데 땡게 뜻으로들야 란신게 코란 주와 차지네 대양 베 무세베지 신도에나 짜라란도차 신앙어제도차 되네 베나 사진나야 돈조 되네 베야 란신게 되는 주도 찬도와 뜻을 삼은 알아서 탐지게 지기요레스.
So generally, in contemplating the inevitability of death and the truth of impermanence, we start by thinking about the ways in which we see impermanence reflected in the outer environment. So there's the outer impermanence of the impermanence of the outer container, the impermanence of the world. And so we can think about that, contemplate this type of impermanence by calling to mind all of the different ways that we see and hear about change and destruction on like in the environment based on, say, the elements. So there we see and hear examples of this all the time. There are earthquakes, this destruction that occurs through earthquakes or through water, through hurricanes and different types of natural disasters that involve water, the destruction and impermanence that is displayed through fire, through forest fires and so on, and the destruction that it can occur through wind, tornadoes, and what have you. So there's this way of thinking about how the outer environment, which we tend to think of it as being everlasting and solid and impermanent, that it can just be, in a single moment, based on the power of the elements, can be wiped out and destroyed. Likewise, there we can see impermanence reflected in a more subtle way every day and through the passing of the seasons in our own immediate environment. We watch as, the seasons change one into the other, that spring and, changes into summer. There's maybe, there's the the flowers are blooming and they're so beautiful, but they only last for a short time before they wither and die. And then, there's the changes that happen as we move into fall, and then in winter, when in fall everything dries up and the leaves drop and the trees drop their leaves, and then in winter we have things that start to freeze, and the trees are completely bare, and maybe there's snow. And so we see really on a daily basis the impermanence that unfolds out in the outer environment, just in the progression of the seasons. So we contemplate in this way too the impermanence of the outer environment.
ngaranzo roa miji le cha chomba na da je ranjin ge da chone ge da jinga zo ge ba ma cha ba de remjin juwan ro ge yo ba ene je te zo sama da ma da be ge ranjin je da ma da bar wa da sama ge na je ge je ngaranzo roa mi le cha chomba na ya de je da 남제 참이 답변은 알로 준준인 생아 시기 말했어 야 재면도 나다 제 희위진데 하장 망보요 된게 요대 바르와 얘네 가란 소직 sembo 내야라 지 튼진라고 때 하장 요요 요대 봐 얘네 제배 가시네 밤에게 코바나나 암 마게 조고나네 요대 값에 정동기 가시네 찌차데 정동기 가시네 양지 름베름베다 지 근데제네 개바 된 혼의 종그레스 연바 때된 조를 종그레스 야지 문도와 이미 시위지야 하자 망보리 가시에네다 모다게 젬베지 모다 depujon 종게요레 가시에네지 칼라 사기사기 종종게요레 가시에네지다 니게 딱 가신 시위지 가시에네지 조조라서 봐다 만토라서 봐돈 딱 간다장 알아서 시위지야 하자 망보요데바 그래서 참말 안진데 가르쳐드려서는 뭐다 바쳐드려스
So then we can turn our contemplation also to the impermanence of beings who inhabit these environment, or who inhabit the world, and how everyone is subject to impermanence. Everyone will die, and there are actually so many conditions that can lead to death. And there are actually relatively few, very few conditions that really support life. There's so many more conditions that can turn into like a potential cause of death. And we tend to think, that death happens like as it's supposed to, in order, or, oh, maybe I'm young and so therefore I won't die anytime soon. But this is definitely not the case. There are so many who die at a young age. There are many who die, their death can strike at any time, at any stage in life. There are some who even die in their mother's womb before they're even born. There are some who die just after they are born. And so there's no way of saying, oh, first, people live and to a ripe old age and then they die, because it certainly isn't that way. Actually, there are relatively, few people who really live to a completely, ripe, developed old age. Many die before that. And so when we think about the conditions, people die in car accidents, people die because of complete, even from eating food, different types of food, become the cause of death, or people die in their sleep. There's all sorts of sudden health incidents, accidents, and so many outer conditions that can very easily turn into a cause of death.
네 베나다 ngaranzo je thonda da ngaranzo ngusu thoya ba je jaga pension ba laina re thomba chimsen ba laina re tena jin ke name je phama bunchi ke na laina re tena jin ke je thobo thomo pa ro laina re ta je mama champo yo ya po yo de ba ta ji pension je wa yo de ba de hob de ba la de na je ta je so so ke thunjin da so so ke de ba de so mandrak de ne lamsang je thoba shor je manthun ba cha de ne donghe sam je ma cha ba ta de cham de so sama ranjin ke khona mata ba de je meta be ke ranjin de je re doas and da je nga zo sama ke 마다베게 주와 차기 요바당 근데 참마게 나랑 저기 통기 요래 니마 레레게 나는 나랑 저기 무슨 통되게 요래 다 얘네래 마음 팔치와게 그래서 참마 마다베게 그래서 참마지 통기 요래 나랑 저 하고 요래데 다 이나야 그래서지 마다베게 라진 임바당 데네 춘이 임바데 삼노 동히데 하장게 베 뇽뇽 차데 요라
Wait, igarela, conta.
다당아서 마다 바란지 바데 가나서 님마 따바레시 가나서 탐지게 지게 요래 통게 요래 이나다데 마다베게 란지 임바 데네 가나서게 춘이 임바데 삼노 당케데 하장게 뇽뇽 차데 요레스
Um, and so we see evidence of impermanence all around us all the time. We can see, even on a global scale, nations that are allies suddenly flip and become enemies, or in our own communities, or even in a family, when things there's harmony in the family, and then suddenly there's discord, or among friends, someone is your so, a dear friend one day, and then something happens, there's some problem, and then friends fall out with one another. And so there's this very obvious kind of display of impermanence that's identifiable at all times, that where situations that were once, harmonious or peaceful or pleasant become the nature of suffering all at once. And this is the truth of impermanence playing out. We see it directly. We see it directly, and we see it all the time. But even though we see this, we see it on a daily basis, we experience it in our lives. Everyone witnesses the truth of impermanence, but there are very few people who actually identify it as the truth of impermanence, even though it is witnessed at all times and it is everywhere. But to really actually see it for what it is rare.
yenchi ngaranso namju matabe ko la chune ji nyamle mana ta matabe ko la chune ji samno ji mata ombe ki kaps de la ta chuncha ro de khare yong kore su baina pena je pe ro je su baina ta ji lobda chi mo kha ro da lobjo na ki de cham cham ta namju namja jun do la ji lobjo pe ta lobjo ki yize ke chai ja cha de thombo leng ge na ta nima ji ke yize ke ja cha de thombo je ma len de ni dunghe ke hob de bala ta ji ranshi jaya yin se an ro 데나 진게 제가 로봇 로몰라서 바치 남자 진도 참보이도 합도 발라지 카가 찬도 되네 란시 자연스 양로다 다양 참잠라 만당 알아서 로촌 된데 대치 참자 빼는 나사 겐세 단지 나자다 된데게 나사 두갸 된데 합도 발라 나와지 암지게 지랑 나사 된데 제 나샤다 지랑 두수시라제 민도라오다 된데 제 송 백업서 되네 제 남주 알아서 뭐다 바추네 서콜 선노지 땅게메 된데 연자 되네 빼데 거다 합도 발라 되네 지 당 갈라 거래다 나 로존조제를 나사 된데지 가르치는 나 거래서 가르치기 시고래서 되네 즉 단해지 마도 하지 않게 동 삼지 마셔봐도 용기 요바도 수천아 존자데 간에 용거래서 말한서 두 남자 주연들라 마다 바단지 말한 그 류데 자친 보제 임바 삼노마고 마다 바임바지 삼노 추네 당게 메디 되네 허브데 발네 소제 존데 되네 빼 항사 지 다다 갈라 거래 남카데 살아 자좀바 사데 남카레야 팔숨주로 베 삼지 마셔봐도네 용기 요레스
And so the fault of not really paying attention to or identifying the truth of impermanence is that then when impermanence does what it does, and when impermanence manifests or displays itself, we are completely surprised or caught off guard. So, for instance, some people, some students, maybe someone who's a really dedicated, studious student, maybe in college, who just aces all of their exams. And they're used to that. They're used to acing all of their exams. But then maybe one exam, they don't get 100%. they don't ace that exam, and they're just devastated and overwhelmed. And some people even want to kill themselves, when something like that happens. Or for instance, a couple, somebody is a couple, a boyfriend and girlfriend, are in a relationship, or there's a relationship and they're generally like happy and harmonious, and then there's a breakup, and then that breakup can be so overwhelming that people want, that maybe some people even commit suicide. Or somebody all of a sudden receives a diagnosis. The doctor tells them they're young, and the doctor tells them that they have cancer, and they get this news, and it's just absolutely devastating. They think, how can this happen to me? I'm young. I didn't, this can't, and they can't accept it. It's so overwhelming, and uh, so devastating, because there's this denial of the truth of impermanence. We were sort of depending on things to stay the same. We were expecting things to remain, one way, to be lasting and permanent. And so when there's not this um, kind of sensitivity to the truth of impermanence, then our suffering becomes so magnified when we experience impermanent, the truth of impermanence, and we're unable to accept, and it feels everything, it feels so sudden and so overwhelming, and like the sky is falling. We feel like we can't bear it. But when there is some understanding of impermanence there, these really difficult moments in life become so much easier to hold, to bear.
Ranzo namju mutabe kola samno tang matang ki chiban ro je pe shuwaina ta namju jinda la namja jinda je mutabe kola samno tang dengin je ki mi ro je na ta mi de ke la pa la je ngune ke ta nga zo pe rin thang chenpo ke chala je mi de ke ta je mutabe samno tang dengin mi de ke la pa la yo na hobto ba la te ke sala sawa ina cha ba ina ya ko je hang sayan ro je dan je pe semna ne je ngamda ro je tende misi ke legi mari sam ko ra kansin ko ta te je mutabe sambar 다 딘제기 뚜진데 산노 마당 겐제나 자 쳔보 그 소소 빼 메세베 자 쳔보 제 잘라지 합도 살 사와이나 아울라 끼끼 자야 단 징문에게 지 달로 그래 셈나는 암자다 신한다 지빼 란신기 소소 나로 참아지 줄로라 동호야지 다디 메다베게 지 산노 땅 마당게 제바 딘제지 참잔 딘제지 용기 반로 제도 딘제지 당 알아서 쪼로 되지 마다베 거르데 지 가서 슈고야 짐진로 조데 가르스는 아주 마다베 임바데레 지 두초 담젠 지고 스타 마다베레스 등 아주 사마 둥에다오 마다베레자 당 아주 추dom나 초민도서 오다지 다 사마 시지레샤세 가레나 다 제나 초민도 삼삼로 딘제지 코리안 삼로 로바딘데 단지요 마레스 마다베
Mhm, mhm,
che o da mata breja kare chena ya cho mendo samsa tende samno da matang aso mata pa res shya de mata pa de yimba de ha ko tene ngaran so ke tu de cha chim tu de da cha chim bo yimba chi chi ne da mata pe yimba ha ko wi ji la o da nga da tu de pe cha chim bo de ya tu de tamzen che tene chu ju ya da nyam ne che ya la tene tamzen che ne so so ke ta ko da da ran ne chu ju ya da so so ke je tu tamzen che ne tu chola ma da wa de so ko yores.
mhm. So when we have this understanding of impermanence, like when we're used to identifying impermanence through making an effort to notice it, to contemplating it, then, for instance, if someone holds a really precious object, like a really expensive precious object, like a vase or some crystal thing in their hand, that's really expensive, and suddenly it falls and it shatters everywhere. Um, if somebody is not so skilled in, or not so, they don't practice contemplating impermanence, then that may be really upsetting to them. Their very precious, expensive thing shatters, and they are totally surprised and totally upset. Whereas, somebody who has a more deeper level acceptance of impermanence, there might be a sudden, they might be suddenly startled, but they're able to let go of it very quickly because they say, oh, this is just the nature of impermanence. Oh, what do I expect? This is natural. This is normal. Things like this happen. And so the point of reflecting on the truth of impermanence is not to become depressed, and to think, oh, what's the point? Everything's suffering, nothing's lasting, it's all so bleak. If we shouldn't contemplate in such a way that that's the result, that we become depressed about life, or we feel like there's no point, and we feel, really kind of uh, uh, we feel that there's really kind of this depression in the mind of how terrible everything is and how much suffering there is, that we don't want to have this kind of incorrect view. The point of meditating on impermanence is to then see things for what they are, and to know that we have to make good use of our time while we have it, that it isn't lasting. And so, with this understanding of impermanence, we can feel really inspired to practice the Dharma well, and to not let our time go to waste, to not waste our time. That's really the benefit of reflecting in this way on impermanence.
Penajin ta jengaranzo soso geji ta gao nyebo ji ta nami chimsi pinji ro ji ta ngazo ji samre ge ta ji nawa chawa ta troma la so chate ga zu ta khaji pe ngo dungye den de je pe chi ge yorwa ta ina de so ji jiya de chimsi ja ji sewa ta ji ngone ge den de ge je yebe ge chimsi ge den de ta chi ge nang ge yore ta ina ya ngazo samna ya bo ji tang ba ina ta chirang ge 다 네바에나 다 동기미도 제바에나 뭐네게 지 세와요 베게 짐세 지랑 뭐되나 데 펜도요 말와 페나
Mhm.
지야 임바데 다 나야 임바데 고마다 바레 도드메 바제레 다 지랑게 네바 델레 펜바 시운 킹게 미델레 펜베게 자와지 가레 drogo
Mm,
지랑게 같이 세와요 바다 나진게 동킹게 미제나 델라지 야 타베게 람난 로트비아게 수수게
mm,
같이 세와요나 델라데니지 네델 펜베게 자와 같이 drogo 가세 수수랑 무대와다 지 근데 제대반 센데 나리 펜도 가요 말이 네바제나야 오크게 몰라 무대와나 갈라고래 다동 심지줘야 단데니 마도 펜토야 메반자 가지 탐지 마다 펜바 수수 다네 제 제와 요레데 이나이 제와 가세 요나 델 펜베게 자와 줘야다 델지 상어지 땅 델리로지 란진지 로지 창고 도와창게
so And so also, sometimes it's the case that we have, that there's a loved one, maybe a spouse or a partner or a family member, parents who are sick, or who are dying. And then as a result of that, of course, because we have love for them, then we're really devastated. We're really sad. We suffer a lot. We cry, and we grieve. And this is because of the love that we have. But if we really think about it, the other kind of effect of contemplating impermanence, that we should experience, is that it makes us more courageous in the face of these losses. So that, if someone we love is sick or is dying, if we really just cry and grieve, we're not doing anything to benefit them. And so instead of kind of attending to our own grief, we can actually be of benefit. We can actually help them. We can support them. We can help them with our practice of Dharma. We can help to guide them, on the path to liberation. We can help that process of transition for them be something that is really beneficial, that actually it helps them. But if we're really distraught and we're crying and we are only caught up in our own grief, then it becomes very difficult to help them to be of actual benefit. And so when we're able to really accept the truth of impermanence and be more courageous in the face of those situations of loss or tragedy or disaster, then we can actually be more clear-minded and capable of benefiting those that we love and other sentient beings.
Dada nga zo mada ba de da ngone chulo kurma jenki ya shu de da mada ba ge lo de re mada be ge lo de nga ran zo ju le ya po ji ji ba na de ne ngone thane ge da nga ran zo ge chu nyam ne chi ya la de ne ngone ge chi nam ne chi ye ge lam da tri ge re kurma chi ge re khain se na nga ran zo ge mada be ge lo ngone yang da ba ji nga ran zo mada be lo de ju le chi ba na de ne ngone ge nga ran zo ge
It looks like she's frozen. Is it just me or for everyone?
No, it's everyone, Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Stand by.
Okay. I'm gonna take the opportunity to just go get more paper if that's okay.
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine.
Thank you.
As Khenmo has dropped, we'll just wait. I've messaged them, so I'm sure she'll be coming back on soon.
Oh, Kimola has to be unmuted.
Thanks, Virginia.
la so gong da da me da ba she she ni
So she said, so proof of impermanence. Impermanence displaying itself.
la so da da gong ni shu ba de sin so la
Koma song gong dala,
o la so
gayan
la so
sina che yorwa.
la so de ne da nga zo me da ba ge nam ju se me da be de ngone ge chu lo ko ma chi ya de ya shu de re ne me da ba de nga ran so ju le ya po che so na de ne ngone ge chu nyam le ya po che cha ge re chu pa ya po che cha ge re chu nyam le ka re je na ya de ne ngone ge rang lai na phin tho ba yin lai na phin tho ba che cha ge re ka se me da be ge lo de ju le ya po che che mi na nam ju me da be ko lo san na ya po che tang ge mi na de ne chu nyam le che ba na ya de ne ngone ge so so ge chu de so so ge sem ge ju la ngone ge so ri tho ba de yong ya pe me se be ge kha po 추바 데세 갈로고 추양 다반데 이제 차야데 데스 카포로 이제 요레스 텐데 데네 마다베 콜레 양스 삼노 다야다 데네 두수 담젠 치야데 데네 이제 개침보 데네 이제 랭아랑게 데네 이제 삼손스.
So if we really take the teachings of impermanence to heart and we really take care to contemplate impermanence well, to meditate on it in such a way that it really takes birth in our mind stream, this understanding, then we'll become really great Dharma practitioners. And we'll be able to benefit ourselves, we'll be able to benefit others. If we don't, if we practice the Dharma, but we sort of skip over this stage of, or we kind of disregard, we don't go deeply into impermanence, then it will be difficult for our Dharma practice to become really powerful or meaningful. To really actually practice true Dharma is impossible without an understanding of impermanence. So without, really deeply contemplating its impermanence in such a way that it really takes root in our mind stream, then our Dharma practice just doesn't go very deep. It doesn't go very far. We won't be able to really accomplish it well. So it's necessary to really attend to the contemplation of impermanence all the way through the path, throughout the entirety of the path. This is really a crucial aspect to the practice. Oh, she's on. You're Kimola Kogamendo.
다 시비 대화라 시바 감성 코와텔라 지다 대원 짐베게 님보 데네 코비 동해시다 코비 동해데 슈게 덴두다 ngaranso namjuda 감성 코와데 나나다 지 ngaranso게 다 ngaranso 데게 코와데레 지차베게 지라다 지 ngaranso 지왕 하메게 소소남사바데네 덴 코안데라다 지 ngaranso 루 야포제 렌제네 지 요레데 이나야 ngaranso게 ranjin dungege ranjin 제 dungege 된데지다 dungesumle dung에지 dung에다 지베 dung에다 된 차반도세지 dung에 소양게다 dungesum게 ranjin 된데지 자기 요레스 된두다 코안데레 지차베 쇼고라다 ngaranso게 딱 코에 심진데다게 지 시반 감성 코안데라 ranjin게 지 지보지다 된데지 야보지 된데지 ngunzen tende je namju chige yorwez yinaya ranjin nguma samno tambayina dada tamje je da dungege ranjin je chadyorez.
So then the third contemplation, which becomes the antidote to being attached to the happiness or pleasure that can be found in samsara, is contemplating the suffering of samsara, the suffering that pervades the three realms of samsara, and the fact that suffering or unsatisfactoriness, difficulty and hardship pervade all the different levels of existence that are possible within samsara. And so right now we are in a really favorable, experiencing a really favorable lifetime where there's a great we have a lot of merit that has ripened, and that's what, why our lives are relatively, compared to other situations, free of really immense suffering. And yet still, even in our situations of having, a birth in which there's a great deal of ripening of merit, we still see the way that the three, or that the way in which our lives are also pervaded by hardship and suffering or unsatisfactoriness. So there are the three types of suffering that pervade all of our experience, the suffering, the suffering of change, and the all pervasive suffering of compounded phenomena. And so, as long as we take rebirth as a sentient being in samsara, wherever it is in the three realms of cyclic existence, we experience these three types of suffering. And there's no so even though there might be some temporary pleasure, well-being, and enjoyment that we currently experience, we still also can identify that there's a lot of difficulty, there's a lot of pain too.
라서 tenen dina dinde sondo COVID de karche cha debe ko ka manchi be sipe de la mata ba nyangen de be lamla jo dinda che song yore ko an de le chi chabe shogo la ta ngone ke dewa thartop dinde che yo mares dene ko an de gi na la dene dewa chunjung ye ba de la dene ngaran so ke cha shin cha che dinde che na ya yo mares dene ngaran so ke ngone ke dewa ngoma de dene dada nga so nyangen de be ke 공방 담바데 되는 거네 대화 탈도 되는데 되는 가란 속에 되는 냥에 대바다 타바 탐제 제베 람 토야라 되는 추냠네 제네 람네 조고레스 냠네 제네 다 베존 제든데 진로고레스 송바르와.
And so, as it says in the text, and now we're on page 19, it says, wherever in samsara one is born, true well-being cannot be found. I shall therefore turn away from the worldly pleasures and enter the path of nirvana. So once we have taken birth in samsara, there is no ultimate lasting happiness to be found anywhere. And so what happens is that, there is an attachment to, really small amount, a small happiness or small pleasures. But there's no real lasting happiness. And so the only way to achieve that lasting, unchanging, really transcendent happiness is through the path that leads to liberation and full awakening.
Pena ta koana dena chi chawe sho dungye yimbe ranshin de ngaran soge ta chi tadan thong shimbe ke pena ta trangbo de so laina tene che tholo khem je me pa tene saya mebe ke dungye desa mebe dungye simro tene pena tene chupo de so laina chi ki panjo phusum chopa ji yo ba yena ya tene che ta sem na la shenang ta ane che ngamdra ta pena ta che chupo de so khorang le so le ye chu se che lemne ta che dendon ro ki namba che chane tene pe ta khorang so ke chu sin ro ta tene che yungre sambe tene ke semje ta ta khorang so ke junor de song ma tha be ke ta che kange ta dungye tene semna la tene shena ta ngamdra tene ke ngane mase den ro ko yan ro tena shin ta mi khaje ne che na be ke dungye ane kha tene ke ta che dungye na ba nga choba tene che de ngaran so ke ta thong da thong shin ba tene che res den de sambala ta hwan de ki na ne che sa be sho ko la mune ke dewa yang ta ba tene che me ba de ta ngaran so ke ha ko go res.
That's all. So we see, once for those for being born in samsara, no matter what the circumstances, there is some form of suffering or another. Even in the human realm, we see this. For instance, there are those who suffer from poverty, like, maybe some who are beggars, who don't have enough clothes to wear, they don't have enough food to eat, and they suffer, from having such a basic lack of, their needs being met on such a basic level. And yet, then there are some who are very wealthy, very rich. They have everything that they need. They live maybe a very luxurious life, but they have a lot of mental and emotional hardship. They have worry, have anxiety. They're, caught in like competitiveness. They worry about hanging on to their wealth. They worry that someone who is richer than them will come along. And so there's still not any real satisfaction or happiness, even, in having all of one's material needs met. And then in addition, everybody usually experiences in some form or another the suffering of illness, and during their lives. And so we can see that there are actually, many different ways in which, that suffering takes so many different forms and that it's really inescapable in samsara.
라서 tene ta nga zo chi dungye re si shu de sambala chi tis kare la gore ta sen tu ka sen na re chi ta chi 고되나지 무대와지 요래 되네 오늘 제나 동해 인바데 가서 하고 고야 돼 뺏게 머리 만보지기 동해 이나 인바데 하고 요 말로 동해 인바데 하고네 되는 이바데라 오다 맞아 동해데 간제지는 매바지고도 안에 동해 되게 종사대 가와네 중고도 대인상 동해 코란된 제비차되요와 동해대 용사대 가네 용고도 당 아주 동해대 간제지는 매와서고도 딘제지 삼노 다운데 되네 당 아란 속에 동해기 용사대 줘대 안에 아주 동해대 가서 당 아주 용용바 군종스야 되와 군종스기 짜와된 아주 단전리 도차 시당 뜨몽 아자도 소인데 다 나란 속에 가르치고 있는 추냠네야 보지 제네 다 나란 솔로 줄로 예베게 코베심지 줄로 예베게 단전 뉴몽바데 칼레칼레 파 메와소고도스 데 메와즈바나 란진기 동에데 뇽뇽 로고도스 어떤데지 삼노지 코고 요레스
So, so we say, oh, suffering, suffering. But it's really important to recognize suffering and to recognize it for what it is. Many people don't even recognize suffering. They don't recognize suffering as suffering. So first we have to actually accept the truth of suffering and recognize suffering for what it is. And then we have to say, okay, why? First of all, how can we alleviate suffering? Truly, and what is the source of our suffering? What's the true source of our suffering? And when we start to like really identify, based on first acceptance of the fact that there is suffering, and then identify what is the real source of this suffering, what is the real cause, and we see, when we identify the source of suffering, the origination of suffering, being the mind of self-grasping and the three poisons, then we have a method to alleviate our suffering. So as we work um, on diminishing the mind of self-grasping, diminishing the afflictive emotions, as we have success in our practice and we see the afflictive emotions diminish, we also see that there's less suffering, that there's directly suffering is directly related to the afflictive emotions in the mind stream, that this is the true source of suffering.
dendu ta azu dongye jonsa te nyumo inza ta nyumo danzen te nga so samno tanjin danzen te ta ngaran so thamji semge namdo ke tende che su sha ba ma do thonde nyumo danzen sia je khurang ge rangwe ne ji chob de ba ji men ba te da thamji semge chomjo dan se ngaran so ke sembe ke tende je so tene ngaran so dongye nyang ge ba tende je ha ko tene dongye je ta nga so nyumba khurang ranjin pe na ta shidan ro je cha chum ba na shidan je chen be kapsala te nga zo ke shidan ke ranjin te le khurang te de ba na tene shidan khurang ya tene ranjin ke ngo de chupa ranjin ngo chupa je mi te tene shidan khurang ya ranjin ke sem ke ranjin ke de la pa them ro ge ro wa ten da wo ge tene nyumong tham ji da ran re ko nyumong ke ngo de ta nga ran zo ke nyumong nam do de da tham ji ko sem ke nam do ndra ma da ge te nga zo tene je ma do be ke nyumong ba ranjin je chho de ba me za tene da da 산지 좀 된다긴 되네 정요라 아니 다다 ngaranso dedo 탐지에게 짜와 되더니 ngaranso 게 셈라라 레바레스 셈데 뇽몽보 완다 차나 되니 ngaranso
대두 탐체 공다 기 대두 탐체기
dedo 탐지에게 짜와 되더니 셈라 토고레스 에나 셈 뇽몽보 완다 차두 되니 ngaranso 란신 게 동에 차고레스 셈 코란 란신 뇽 따페나 남도 탐지 셈게 당아서 촘초임바 하거나 Tene namdo tele losu juba sem me baji hako, semne losu juba namdo me baji hako ondu, tene oda dung nyumo siyaji kaka, tene ngaranso ke chik dungye siyaji kaka mewa, ane ranshin ki tamchi sem ki chondro imba hako na tene ngazo ranshin ke nyumo dozo ina ji payan le laren rogo yores.
And so the mind of self-grasping and the afflictive emotions are nothing other than thoughts in the mind. And so there's really no real substance to them. There's no real entity to it. If we look at, there's not this thing that is like this entity of self-grasping or this entity of affliction that is self-existent from its own side. It's created by the mind itself. And likewise, suffering is a product of the mind itself. So we can see that when we really identify that, we have so much independence. Because if, for instance, when anger is present in the mind, and if we look at directly at the anger itself, we see that there's really no essence there. And in seeing that lack of essence, it dissolves. And all of the afflictive emotions are this way. The afflictive emotions are nothing other than thoughts in the mind. And so just like the Buddha has said that all happiness and suffering, the root of all happiness and suffering is the mind itself. So for example, if that weren't the case, if it were that there was some, independent entity of afflictive emotions or independent entity of suffering, then we wouldn't be able to control it. We wouldn't be able to change the experience. But because it isn't anything other than the mind itself, then it can be liberated. Suffering can be liberated. The afflictive emotions can be liberated. So knowing that there isn't a separation there, then it becomes very easy to overcome those mind states when they arise.
Then da nga zo du jun de so dunge yin ba ha ko na de nam ju jing aran so da ke dok de bong pe na da jing nga zo cham ba da nin je chan ju ge sem de na jing ge de ne du jun de ngaran so je sem ba sam bo chi ya da de so je nam ju so ge de ne de ge da che chu nyam ne kan tu tu chi ko ya de ne pe ke chen bo je de je cha ge dos.
And so this is also, developing the qualities that are the opposite, that are the antidote, like, continuously cultivating love and compassion, continuously cultivating bodhicitta, really, nurturing the good, a good heart, trying to have a genuinely good heart. And practicing the Dharma in all the ways that we do. This is why, it is so important.
Jimsen garesana khoande dunge ranjin re si shu de ando cawan ro de kawal thodo yoresana khoande le dunge ranjin ba ha kona chirang khoande le thandu ke lo je jem gore thandu ke lo de jem de tine ngone ke chu ya ke ta ko ka ya shin ro je cha de zang de dunge ke ranjin ba de den de jene da song ko jimsen chi ya de je re dos
Because, the reason for again cultivate or contemplating the suffering of samsara of sigla, understanding that samsara is the nature of suffering, and with that deep understanding, then there is the incentive, the inspiration to get free of that suffering, and that becomes the inspiration that really motivates us in our practice. And then through our practice, we actually achieve that purpose, which is overcoming, undoing the root of suffering or overcoming the causes of suffering.
den de ta cawan ro de garesana sanje jum den de ta dikpa khadyu na ya chi ya yo mares nga cho ke khadyu na ya tine gewa khan ron rob che gores tene cho de ta ngaran cho ke tene so so ranye ke sem de tene khan thu thu ke che shidor pa yo da tene che cham nyen je chan jo sem de so gomya de pe mse pe ke chen bores rang ke sem ne yong sun dors tene de ngoma ke sanje ke tene che tem ba ina dra tene ngaran cho ke ta ngone ke 타도 그 턱고 한다고 된 차도요레스
So as the Buddha has said, it really this is the very root of everything. The four lines, that come or the three lines that come from the Buddha, to not do even a single wrongdoing. So to not engage in any negativity at all, and to practice take every opportunity to practice virtue and to completely tame our own mind. This is the real meaning of the teachings, of the Buddha's teachings. And so to whatever extent that we can, always applying the teachings and working with our mind in such a way that we are actively practicing, cultivating mindfulness and awareness, being, cautious or heedful in our activities, and cultivating the positive qualities of love and compassion, practicing virtue to the best of our ability, and really avoiding non-virtue, and essentially taming our own mind. This is really the essence of, the path altogether.
그래서 다한테 다다랑 저 레짐데스야 되다 쉬어인 다아저 단조 류데 동요 발차베기 쳇데 레짐데 삼바 송도와 벤두 다아저 되게 베샤나네 단조인데네 동denchir 녀모 도섬 메게방 게벨레람 베바치 고섬 담식 돈바송 선대제 송난도와 벤두 다아란소 단조 물르름 보체데 문에게 자천보대야 톱요레 대나진게 다치 단전 물르름 보체데 되네 지 자천보체 톱요레 되네 물르름 보체데 하장게 되네 직레 하보레 되네 가르스나 마다베게 직도데 가서 물르름 보체 자천보 톱바장 핀토고 말하단 마다바란신데 되네 마저 가디션로야데 하고야요 말레스 대인도 되네 아주 다 시위값인데라 마란소게 주본데 종칸나신지로와 남시된 종포나신지레 대인도 아주 시위질라 루데 자는 로고요레 당 아란소 시비가슬라 오늘 펜토 요와지데 쿠르제데네 아란소게 아니 게와 제샤베게다 게베게레 코나든데 자기요레스.
So then we have the fourth of the four thoughts, where it says on page 20, to make this life of freedom and connection meaningful, I shall abstain from all misdeeds resulting from a mind afflicted by the three poisons. I shall diligently strive in cultivating virtue and shall protect my vows and my samayas of the three doors. So here again, we going back to the first, where we really have this understanding of how rare and precious it is to achieve a human birth with leisures and endowments, but it's also it's so ephemeral and so easily lost. It's easy to destroy. There's no stability there. There's no guarantee, how long it will last. So just having achieved this human birth isn't of any benefit. But then knowing that we will die, and at the time of death, our mind will continue on, and our body will be left behind. Our body is like a guest house. Our consciousness is like the guest that just temporarily inhabits the body. And when we die, what will be of any benefit at the time of death? The only thing that will be of benefit is the karma that we have accumulated, during our lifetime, all of the virtuous karma that we have accumulated. That is what is of true benefit at the time of death.
대인도 당 알아서 당아서 되다 소소게 단대게 레짐데스야 되다 오늘게 뱀세베게다 마란소게 추냠내게 되지 주바야보 차다 마차스야 단다 지금 오늘게지 냠내야보 차다 마차스야 돼 소되다 고 레짐데게라 이치 유메다 레짐데데 오늘게 철진 소마송다 된다올라지 통기도와 김진 가래서나 당 알아서게 롱아 예솜데 지당 오늘게 게베게 람라드네 제 침바이나 되네 제 드웨야 되네 오늘게 두다 남바콘도 드웨야 되네 제 데브란신 제다 무지 지보용야 제 소소라데 가레 해나야 제 드롭데 반다고 제 용고요레 되네 가란소게 제 롱아 예솜데 아니 제 먹게베게 람라 친송바이나 두다 남바콘도 소소라지 대완 되바다 동에 민두나야 라신 게 동에 단지 짬시와다 나차단지 가레나야지 Yong de ando de zo de kazana ji le mege we che be ke tin de ran shin ji jo yo ba da tin de do je chang gwe re.
And so so the whether, really understanding, really believing in the truth of karma, cause and effect, is so important. This is what really determines the quality of our Dharma practice. So what is it, that really kind of reflects where we're at as Dharma practitioners, how to identify, whether someone is really a good Dharma practitioner or not, is primarily, and like, to what level does one, or do we really believe in karma, cause and effect? To what level is there real we the real dedication to practicing virtue with body, speech, and mind, and avoiding non-virtue with body, speech, and mind, because of this really deep understanding of the reality of karma, cause, and effect. If that is there, then that really is a sign of the maturity of one's Dharma, practice, the level of one's Dharma practice. If we know and really believe, then again and again, we're going to take every opportunity to accumulate positive karmic seeds, to practice virtue. And we're going to take extreme caution to avoid non-virtue. If, on the other hand, we might think that we're practicing Dharma, and we might have this expectation, for happiness and well-being. But if we again and again continue to be at the mercy of our afflictive emotions, and again engage in non-virtue, then even though we might wish for or expect happiness, again and again we'll be confronted by suffering and hardship. And that is the inevitability, based on the truth of karma, cause and effect.
La so tene chuan ji din sum jing gon pe tende je song na do le jim de la yi chi je song na tene nga zo ge ju xian me ji kha da yang zhen bo da tende je song do da pe na le jim de la yi chi ya bo je den gen ji me ji la o chirang ge dik pa ji ji yo ma re da si chirang ge wa ji go re sin kha da khara lob so je wa da da si zima ro phen do men jo ro cha ro re jim sin khare re sin na pha lu ge me de le jim de la ko le jimde ke namja de yapo chi khorang ke yichi che le jimde ke namja de khorang ke yapo lalin terge uza den rawo ke midela chira gewa drop gores dipa pang gores ni she goya khorang yo mares kan khora ranjin ke chira bete de dipe le de maje na chira ke sigi sena ya mite ke khorang ke de kala gorida ha kalta dipe le de chawani chi ke mares den sa den de ke mila ta lapja ja go mares o den de che song da le jimde de pe mi se ke chim bo mi jim sin rawo jere do.
And Lord Jigten Sumgun says that someone who really has confidence in karma, cause, and effect doesn't need to be instructed in it, because it is natural. So, for instance, if somebody really believes in karma, cause, and effect, then they don't need to be told, oh, you need to practice virtue, and you need to avoid non-virtue, and this is the way to practice virtue, and this is the way to practice non-virtue, because that person is so completely clear from the depths of their being, that is the only thing that they can do, because they know it so deeply. And it happens naturally. There's no need, and for such an individual, if they were to be instructed to do anything other than virtue, or to not do something that is virtuous, they would not be able to do that non-virtuous thing, because there's such a deep understanding there.
Da de da ngaran so da ji nga zo shiwi ka sen ro jina da ngaran so ke su su ke le gewa da me gewa khare che jawa de ne che ngone ke 살아야 행기 말이스 돌아야 행기 말이스 나주 레 가르 제자와데 소소게 나란소 니마난 드와이나 나주 소소 주포게 좀나데 나란소 가완 로나 용게도 와스 페테 나진게 나란소 게데게 레 가르 제자wen 제베테 나란소 소게 지와 데네 지와 치마 가완 드와이나야 레게데 레게와체네 게wen 제베 메게웨체네 메게wen 제베테코 도드메 바다 간다 진나 메메 바소소란라 덴데체네 용게 요레스 어딘데 송나게도라.
So when we die, the only thing that will follow us at the time of death are our karmic imprints, the positive and negative imprints that we have created in this life. And we will have to experience the ripening of our own karma. Once we create karma, whether positive or negative, it can't ripen on something else. It won't ripen, it won't like dissolve into the earth or go into like a stone or something. When we die, it will follow us, just like when we walk in the sun, our body has a shadow. We see our shadow follows us wherever we go. And so the imprints of karma are said to be like that they really follow the consciousness wherever they go, just as a shadow does. There's no way to avoid or to separate or to undo karma once it is created. It inevitably the ripening has to be experienced by the one who has created it. It can't be transferred to someone else.
Gewa kan tutu chi kan thup thup ke dwiya da tene chi ngaran so ke tikpa te kan thup thup chi pang kan thup chi thup chi ko ya te pe mise ke chambores ten du sanje ke tata kone shube ke tene tikpa khadyu na chi ayo mares tene gewa khadyu na kan thup thup chi gores tene so te ta nga so gedek ni chi ke le thusa so de rang ke sem de res ten de ta domba tamse so ya ena ya da do ane ngaran so ke chi gedek ke chi le palan chi ya ena ya da do tene 탐지에게 자와데 tene che 소소라니 ke semde songde baina tene ngone thane ke da gede landor ke churjinde tene che chagi yores tende da rem rang ke sem soya de pe mse be ke ge chen boyin ba tene che soso ke chu tene kanto de che kanto chu top tin na ba ken de drop boya de da tende che res.
And so understanding this, then, we really feel motivated to do our very best, to the best, like the best that we can, to practice virtue. And we do our very best to avoid negativity, to avoid non-virtue, and to uphold the Buddha's instructions, to avoid even a single wrongdoing, no matter how small, and to really take every opportunity to create virtuous seeds, or to take up virtue, no matter how small, and all virtue and non-virtue, like the point of its origination is in the mind. So as we work to tame our mind, to purify our minds, then this ensures that we will be able to act in a way that is wholesome with body and speech, and to avoid what is unwholesome, because the root of it all is in our own mind. And so that's where it begins, is with intention, with the quality of one's own heart and mind. So then we can work to develop the beautiful qualities of the mind, to whatever extent we're able.
Laso dan dene mara thumong mayin beke hundo ji siba de shuayin den de thumong mayin beke hundo ji den do jena da de thumong mayin ba ji go ya ke jimsin karsana thipa thumong ke hundo chagi wa mare de da sabji ngadin ke hundo yimba maze beke de da sanga doji de beke da je chu ke nyamlen ke hundo de chagi yore den de thumong ke hundo de chagi wa mare de misi da thumong mayin beke hundo de chagi yore ba den zang da thumong mayin beke hundo de ane jamdro dang tene dada menjar dorsem tene laminam jers oda namba jiderwa den du ta jidange nga zo jamdro kapsin rawo jena ta jamdo de ta pe mse be ke khe chenpo chage ro ta namba lanje ke chengyo yore ane je jamdo de namba sanje be ke jine temba lan joya ke gondro de ne ke nga zo jamdo de chage ro wa den de ne jamdo de je ta khe chenpo yin be jimsen ro de ta je nga zo namba sanje be ke ngoma cha da ma cha de je konjo somla de ne je japsen ro man ro dene je dende je chage yore den de ta konjo somla japsen ro war che bala thoma ge cheju de gare chage yore sana me de marong wa ge cheju de che ngone jamdu ka sala deba ji yu ko ba de deba ji konjo som ge yen den ge dene je chembe gone deba ye sujin de deba ya puchi ma je na dene konjo som ge konjo som sia de khande yen ba ji da konjo som ge yen den de ha ko ma re den de thoma de deba ya puchi yu ko ba de pe ge chim bores.
That concludes the explanation of the first stage of the preliminary practice, which are the four uncommon preliminary, or the four common preliminaries. And then next we move into the common preliminaries. So the reason for this distinction, so the common versus uncommon. So what is meant by common with the four thoughts that turn the mind is that this is common to all vehicles. So Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana. But the uncommon preliminaries, they're called the uncommon preliminaries because they're not actually common to all vehicles. So they're unique to Mahayana, Vajrayana because they become the preliminaries to the secret mantra practices. So these preliminaries in the context of the Fivefold Path of Mahamudra. So these four uncommon preliminaries are refuge, Vajrasattva, Mandala, and Guru Yoga. And so when we first practice refuge, it's what is most, this refuge becomes really like the entry point to these to what comes, all that follows, all of the practices that follow. Just in the same way that when we take refuge, that this is like entering the door of the Buddha's teachings. This is what gives us access to all of the Buddha's to Buddhist practices. So it's for this reason, refuge is so important because it really is like the entry point, the doorway. That's what refuge itself is, what makes us a Buddhist or a non-Buddhist. So what also qualifies refuge, whether one really has the mind of refuge or not, or practices refuge genuinely or not, depends on whether there's faith in the mind or not, faith towards the real genuine faith in the three jewels. And so in order to have faith in the three jewels, we have to understand the qualities of the three jewels. So when there is real understanding and contemplation of the qualities of the three jewels, then naturally we develop a mind of faith. And so that is what really qualifies that mind of refuge is having a mind of faith, which is based on an understanding of the qualities of the three jewels.
Dine chidange da nga zo koncho somla japsen somba yana dine pheon samje macha pa dinde che yo so somba re ase zone ro che yana dine che namkha khan ro ya dinde son ta che koncho som japs somme ke che pheon de che dine ngone ke che sonam ro de la che ase zone ro che me ke to ya yo na dine namkhe khan ro ya ke dinde ke ta che pheon ja chen bo che yo so somba re da ngaran so ke koncho somla japsen ro go ya ke jimsen ro de kare cha ang ko re na 마저 감성 코베 semje tamje dungye ke ranshin ba de ha ko ta dungye de le de ne che thar go do sam lo je che ndu ta dungye de le chop thomke ke de ne che ngone ke che 감성 코베 dungye de le chop thomke ke ne ba de ne che ngone ke koncho som la ma to mandu sambe ke soso ke yi chi dang de ba je che ndu de ne ngone ke koncho som ke che yin den dang de ne koncho som la chap san ro go yan ro de o ta te cha ge res.
So when we take refuge, the benefit of that, the power of that is so vast. It's so immense, the power of that mind of refuge. It's said that it's so immense that if it had form, it would even like outfill the expanse of the sky. So all sentient beings wish to be free from suffering, all sentient beings of the three realms. And the kind of connection or hook for that liberation or freedom comes or begins with the mind of refuge. So if there is the longing for freedom, then we have to have someone who can provide protection and freedom for us. And so that source of protection is the three jewels, that source of refuge. There's no one who can provide true refuge or protection from the suffering of samsara other than the three jewels.
이제 가서 건조 섬을 잡스 신바이나 이제 건조 섬게 다 제가저게 쳔베기 이시 이제 심진 탐지 좁더야긴 쳔베기 이시 요바하고 대나신게 제베게 제다 좋아 심진 탐지 제 거 동에다 탐지 투지에다 제베 닌지 제와 닌지 쳔보제스다 그 지로 요바 맞아 하고 대나신게 되는 좋아 심진다 탐지 거와 동에게 잠소된 좁 뇌베게 토단 뇌바에 바지 하고 되는 건조성을 잡선 저거요래 대인도 되는 가서 다지 건조성 될라야나야 되는 제 다당 아란 속에 감데 되는 집에게 다지 아란 속에 산지 건조대 되는 아란 속에 람 덤바보데 차도요래 되는 다 가서 추 건조대 되는 아란 속 거기 동해 될 무스 좀 괜데 차교요래 되는 다 겐데운 건조대 되는 아주 거하게 다 동해 잠조될 야 책이 로바 진긴데 오다 된대지 차도요레스.
And so the three jewels provide protection. So first of all, there is the refuge, taking refuge in the three jewels, and in particular the Buddha. Then there's the understanding that, first of all, there is omniscient wisdom. And through that omniscient wisdom, the power or the ability to protect. And secondly, there is vast, immeasurable, unconditional compassion. So really perceiving the suffering of beings in samsara, there's immense there's all-pervasive compassion and loving compassion for sentient beings. And so the sentient beings who are drowning in the ocean of suffering, the three jewels have the power to protect sentient beings from the suffering of samsara. Through that connection, that is how liberation is achieved. So there's the first jewel is the jewel of the Buddha, who is the guide, the one who we rely upon, or the example, the guide, and then the Dharma, which is the path, and then the Sangha, which are like the companions, our companions on the path.
라서 다 바제 가서 대수 저희가 대수 때 바제 마트라 선사에 공개미지 안데네 계전나마 뱀세 가든지 도시시나 사마 넘발렌지 사마 도시시 가든지 되네 산이지요.
So it looks like we are, now toward the end of our time together. So Khenmo would just like to say thank you to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will continue with these teachings tomorrow.
되네 아주 되게 좋라다다. dedication 카셰지 라서 안데 송난게베.
So she said, sorry, we left off before some of the dedication for the practice. So then, so we can pick up with the dedication section.
Okay, if you would like to continue, thank you, Khenmo.
Kimala chi ngoa dong gerawala.
Medo la dorje samba nga zo da namje taban dong ge ra ma che wan dong sha ko ra.
So the beginning with, is it Vajrasattva that you
Shodan dong ju dong nga de sha.
Dunshin Dunga on page 75?
In 63 on the,
63.
Zoom. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Medo dorje dab je ye she ne me me she ra yom je ngang de do to je je ra na zo je yang do dorje samba che la chan za lo om be zara sa do hong 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 om be zara sa do a be jar sa wa 84 Deshe Todo Jide Shen Sangwang Haje Zunzen Cho Duge Malin Dorje Ba Dorje Zen La Chanzar Tu Om Bezra Bane Hong Om Bezra Bane Hong Om Bezra Bane Hong Om Bezra Bane Hong Hom Bezra Be 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 Hom Bezra Hom Bezra Be Gewande Nyodo Da Sanwe Da Bon Drip Jiraje Drowa Che Jamale Te Salam Go Bar Sho Simje Ne Ba Jinye Ba Nyorde Ne Le Ta Joje Drowe Ne Ne Malo Ta Den Jongwa Me Bar Sho Simje Ne Ba Jinye Ba Nyorde Ne Le Ta Joje Drowe Ne Ne Malo Taden Jongwa Me Bar Shu Chanjo Sumjo Rombo Je Maje Banam Je Jurje Je Banyamba Me Bar Kone Konde Pewar Shu Tuje Chena Menje Sama.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Khenmo, so much for your beautiful teaching. Virginia, for your beautiful translation. And Sherab and Pauline were also online on our Mandarin and Vietnamese channels. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sangha, for joining. And we'll continue tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Bye, everybody. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
Kamala.
And Sangha, thank you. Have a beautiful
Beautiful teachings. Yes.
Hello.
Thank you, Kim Masaichuk. Thank you, Virginia. Cheryl, Pauline,
Thank you,
Sangha.
Kimo.
Thank you, Kamala. Thank you, everyone.
Irma Surya.
老师，你说。
谢谢翻译老师。